The world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Bear with me, just starting the radio side, because that's kind of important for what we do. Triple M, good to see you. Mr. Man, Mr. Raven is Ryan, nice to have you back. The gorgeous Aussie Ange, welcome to the show. And happy belated birthday to Merle, that's right. Lordy, Merle turned 40 on the weekend. Yeah, we'll have a lot of that. Russell Gill, good to see you. Tim, how you doing, buddy? Nice to have you here. And Kwamen Cromarty, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. The Gorgeous Wagon, November 3rd, is here. And who else is here? We're caught up. We're caught up, just like that. Yeah, Lordy, Merle is 40. And by the way, happy Austin 316 to all of you today. Merle is Merle 316 today. Solid day. Very solid day. Yes, Double Tim, I found out yesterday that Double Tim passed away of a heart attack. And, another great fan of ours to leave us way too early. Super Chat is open as we say thank you to all of you who help us out each and every night on this show. Horns up. Let's do it. British Columbia, to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It is a big night of paranormal tonight as Merle 316 is in the house from the Paranormal Road Trippers, and it is Ghosts of the Great White North with special guest Rebecca Struzina. We'll get into the West London Witch in a moment's time. Then in hour 3, we will be joined by our main man, the Swamp Dweller, telling us another spooky story along with our good friend, the fedora-wearing John Hudson, coming in for the UFO report and Shirky Poo's news as well. Of course, it is that time of the month once again where we welcome in Ghosts of the Great White North. Our main man, Merle, is here. Probably, in my opinion, the number one paranormal investigator in Canada. Even though he'll tell you differently. He'll say, I'm number 1A. Who's number 1? He doesn't know, because there's only a 1A. Either way, he joins us each month here with us to hang on out, talk about some good friendships and good stories about what's going on in the paranormal world. And tonight we are also joined by a special guest, all the way from the United Kingdom. Rebecca Struzina, otherwise known as the West London Witch, is the creator and host of the podcast of the same name. Although Rebecca was born in California, currently resides in England, and she grew up in the theater, went to earn her Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Acting from Cal State Fullerton. Rebecca's podcast is dedicated to all things paranormal, supernatural, and unexplained. I love it. I love it. We're going to have fun tonight talking some ghosts. Merle, we got to let everybody know. Lordy, Merle turned 40 on the weekend. Yes.
40, yep.
I'm not
40.
letting that go. What's it like being the big 4-0 now, Merle? Welcome to the club.
What? No, I'm kidding. I was just pretending my hearing was gone. That was a bad dad joke. It's good. 40's all right. I'm still alive. A little slow, when you wake up. You got the headache. Maybe it's the high blood pressure's kicking in now. You don't know. But tonight is going to be a good show. We have the West London Witch, which is in my top 5 favorite podcasts that I have to listen to monthly.
Well, Merle, I mean, at your age, being 40 now, I mean, do you notice that you have to eat a lot of bland food?
Oh, too much pepper, and that'll give me the indigestion.
I hear you. I
Yeah,
hear you.
dude.
I haven't.
Noodle soup, no salt, low sodium life now.
Well, I hear you there, buddy. I hear. I refuse. I refuse to take that over. But you know what? It's a good night, and happy birthday belated to you, my friend. You know, and all
Thank
the
you.
best wishes to you, and thank you for not only being one of my best friends on this planet, but also being, like I said, probably the top paranormal investigator in Canada. And
Oof.
you just keep moving on up, Merle. You keep moving on up,
all over.
and you know what? Hey, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, you're the
Woo.
man.
Yep.
That's it.
Friend.
So I'm surprised that Rebecca Struzina, all the way from the United Kingdom, where it's about 5:10 in the morning as we speak, all right? I mean, her hair is immaculate this morning. Immaculate. Now, that's either you got up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to do your hair, or that's a wig. Let's just be honest. Which one is it?
I'm going to be really honest with you. It's actually because your guys' clocks have gone forward, so it's 4:10 in the morning here.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, geez. So you've been up
So
since
I'm
2.
No, I did my hair before bed. I'm not going to lie to you. I did it before bed. I wasn't going to come here and hang out with you guys and look at disheveled mess. So,
Well, that's
I
why
put
we
in a
have
little
Merle
extra
here.
effort for y'all.
Hey, that's why we got this guy right here. Disheveled mess right there.
No way.
Yeah, right there. I think that's about only the third time the word disheveled has ever been used on this show. So thank you for adding to our vocabulary again. I appreciate
No
that.
worries.
Merle, why don't you
I'm
tell
here
us a
to
little
help.
bit about your good friend Rebecca here? What's she all about?
She is the West London Witch, as we've said a lot right now. She's got a really good podcast, lots of traction right now. She's been getting a lot of followers, a lot of views, a lot of listens, and she interviews a lot of really cool people. Me too. In regards to their paranormal experiences, different encounters, and everything spooky and kind of creepy. Awesome show.
Very
Oh,
cool.
Thank you.
Very cool. Rebecca, how did you get your love of the paranormal?
Oh, you know what? I like to attribute it to the fact that when I was about probably 3 years old, my parents inadvertently moved into a haunted house. They didn't know it at the time, but after 4 months of living there and subsequently moving out very quickly, I think because we had this house and that was really had some really terrible and crazy experiences there, it always was kind of bubbling under the surface. And my parents were really open about the fact that we had this crazy house. And so I always grew up knowing that we lived in this house. We had these scary experiences. And I, from there, just was kind of the creepy kid at school who loved scary stories and ghosts and had a true belief in the paranormal. And that's just kind of permeated throughout my life since then. So the podcast is a great place where I can basically just have people tell me scary stories all the time. And I love it.
What scares you?
Oh, are we talking like the existential dread of failure or like, creatures in the closet?
Well, I mean, if you want to get into depression and anxiety, I would go with the first. But, I mean, if you want to get into the paranormal, let's go with the latter.
Well, my viewpoint on this always changes because it used to be seeing ghosts would be really, really scary. But I actually think not being able to say what it was is actually, the unknown is probably more scary than being able to say, well, actually, I know exactly what that was. And I think more than anything, being taken off guard. But my favorite thing, I love haunted houses because I think there's nothing more vulnerable than being in your home, somewhere where you're supposed to feel comfortable and relaxed and being scared. There's kind of like you don't have an escape from whatever's going on. So I think haunted houses are probably my favorite thing because I love and hate that juxtaposition of being home and safe and yet totally terrified.
What was your first experience in a haunted house growing up?
So when I was about 3 years old, I was born in England and we lived in California, and We moved out there when I was about 18 months old. My parents moved to my hometown where I grew up, Bakersfield. And they bought this beautiful house in downtown. It was this old craftsman style home. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was kind of that quintessential American house, which I think my parents really longed for because there's nothing quite like that architecture out here. And the second we moved in, we had an issue with our dog. I was 3, and we had this toy poodle we actually brought from England with us. And him and I were inseparable. But as soon as we moved into the house, he refused to go into my bedroom. We used to sleep together every night. But as soon as we moved in, he refused to go in my bedroom, refused to go in the back bedroom. And he also started having seizures, really severe seizures. And I mean, it got to the point where he one time had a 13-minute long seizure in the living room. And there was no rhyme or reason for this really strange behavior with the dog. And then as soon as we moved in, I think the first night my parents heard this almighty thump in my bedroom, and they came in and I was sitting on the floor and I was crying, and I said, a witch pushed me out of my bed. And they were like, oh, that's odd, but get back into bed, you're fine. And then it turned into this thing every single night. I would say there was evil people in my room, and there was evil people in my closet, and there was evil people walking around. And it was a really just strange terminology for a 3-year-old, evil people. Like, where do you get that? And, at first they made a joke out of it. Like, oh, Captain Hook is gone, Maleficent's gone, everything's fine, go to sleep. But as time went on, my parents started feeling like, ooh, this house doesn't feel quite right. It is a bit spooky. My bedroom in particular was spooky, but for an inexplicable reason. It was a perfectly fine 3-year-old's bedroom. It was lovely. There was also this feeling in the kitchen, this very profound feeling that there was someone standing behind you watching you wash the dishes or cook dinner. And of course, my parents would turn around and there was nothing there. And being in the house started to take a real toll on their marriage as well. They started arguing a lot. They were really upset. They were really emotional. And that could be a litany of different things. It could be that we just moved to this new town. It could be that we were, really broke and we had just moved there. It could be that their 3-year-old wasn't sleeping and it was all just very stressful. They didn't have a lot of friends. But after about 4 months, they said, we're going to move. We're not doing this anymore. And we moved at Christmas time. And on Christmas Eve, my dad was back in the house doing a final once over, cleaning things up. And he's in the kitchen and he gets this feeling that someone's standing behind him watching him. And he turns around, and in the doorway of the kitchen is a full-bodied apparition of a woman staring at him.
Oh, wow.
And he said he threw the keys on the table. He didn't even lock up. He just went out the back door. He jumped over the fence and drove to the new house. And when he got there, my mom said she was horrified because he had driven and he was sheet white and, shaking. And she was like, what happened? And he said, I saw her. I saw what we were feeling. I saw this woman in the house. And that would have been the end of the story, except for the fact that it was Christmas time and my uncle had sent the Christmas presents to that house.
Oh,
so
wow.
A month or two later, my mom goes, knocks on the door and says, hi, we used to live here. I think my brother sent the Christmas presents here. And the woman said, yeah, he did, but I didn't know who they were for. I sent them back. But I've been doing a lot of work on the house. Do you want to come in and have a look at it? And my mom said, oh, of course I do. I'd love to see it. So she comes in and the house looks great. They've done all this work, wonderful renovations. And the woman sits my mom down on the sofa. And they're having a chat. And the woman looks at my mom and goes, this house is haunted, right? And my mom didn't want to say, oh, yeah, I knew it was haunted. That's not something you say to someone who's just bought and renovated and is, making this their dream home. So my mom said, well, it wasn't the most comfortable house for us, but, I don't know. And the woman goes, no, this house is haunted. It's definitely haunted. But the spirits that are here, they like us well enough. And my mom was shocked. And she said, the worst room is the middle bedroom, my son's room, which was my bedroom. And she said, he complains about evil people in his room and about Evil people in the room. Same terminology. And he was my age. I was 3, he was 4. And there's evil people in the room and there's people walking around at night. But, I think they're happy with the construction we're doing. And I think things are going to get better. And that could have been the end of the story. Except I grew up in a very, very small town. And I grew up doing theater. And everyone's in the basement of the theater one day telling ghost stories. And someone said, "Hey, Becca, didn't you live in that haunted house?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And I just told the story I just told you guys. And as I'm done with the story, this kid looks up in absolute paralytic fear and goes, "I was the little boy who slept in the back bedroom after you."
Oh.
And he was. It was him. And
Damn.
Our moms met in the lobby of the theater and they chatted. And my mom said, "Well, what's the next part of this story of this house?" And the woman said that they lived in it. And although she was very comfortable and happy there, they actually had a lot of poltergeist activity. Things going missing. You'd open up a cupboard, everything would be on the floor, pictures upside down. And so the dad said, "We're moving. We're not going to live here anymore." But she kept the house and turned it into her office, which was fine because she really liked the house. But her staff were terrified and things were going missing and things were flying across the room. So they moved the office somewhere else. But when I started the podcast, I thought that's a great opening episode. So the first episode of the podcast is this story in long format with lots more details. And I thought, well, I need to find this woman. So I'm from a small town. So I do some Facebook stalking and I find her. And I reached out to her and I said, "What's the next part of this story?" And basically, she just confirmed that, the house is definitely haunted. She still owns it. Her son and their daughter-in-law and their kids live there. And they're happy there. But the house is a very, very delicate, I don't know, environment that it either likes you or it doesn't. And for my family, it just didn't like us. And we took the hint. We didn't stay. So that was my first experience.
All right. We're going to have a next one, too. But do you remember what it looked like when you were little?
I'm going to be very delicate with this because I've seen lots of photos of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what it looks like because I've seen so many photos. Mm-hmm. Also, I am the crazy lady who knocks on people's doors and asks them if I can come in and look at their houses. And everyone always has said yes to me thus far. So I've actually done that. One time I was driving by the house with my mom and there was this woman. It was actually being rented at the time. And the woman says to me, we were driving by and I say to this woman, "Hey, can I look at your house? We used to live here when I was a kid." And she looked absolutely horrified, but she said yes. And she let me in her house. And so I walked around her house. So I know what the house looks like because I've been in it and I've seen photos. Do I remember what it looks like as a child? Maybe only because I have those kind of imprinted memories, I do remember, my mom doesn't remember this, but I remember this. I had to do a checkup, children go to the doctor checkup kind of thing. And my mom said, while we're here, she's not sleeping at night. Every night we're having these night terrors and these nightmares and the witches in the room and she's getting pushed out of the bed. And, what do you think it is? And I remember the doctor saying, "Well, I think it's just a phase. I'm sure she'll grow out of it. It's fine." And my mom was like, "I don't know. It feels like more than that to me." And the doctor was like, "Well, do you think there's something more going on in your house?" And I think my mom in just total shock was like, "I don't know. Thank you very much. Take care. I'll see you later." And we left the doctor's office. And years later, I've asked her, "Why did you let me sleep in the haunted room? Why did you let me sleep in the spooky room? Why would you do that to your 3-year-old?"
Someone had to.
Yeah, it was so strange. But she said, there was nothing wrong with the room. It was a beautiful house. It was a beautiful room. What do you do?
Can you still see the witch if you think about it? The spirit.
Like I said, I have an incredibly creative mind. So have I made up what that scenario looks like in my head? Oh, yeah. But do I know that that's what actually happened? No. So I don't know.
We got about 4 minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Ghost of the Great White North with Lordy, Merle is 40, and Rebecca Struzina, otherwise known as the West London Witch. You know, you are in one of the most haunted cities in the world. You really are. And we have had a numerous amount of ghost and paranormal investigators and historians from London over the 7 years of this show. What is your favorite story that you have covered over there since you've been there?
Oh gosh, so many. But actually my favorite one isn't based in London. It's based here in Winchester, which is the old Roman capital of England. It's where the seat of King Arthur's power laid. So it's a very, very old historic town, but it was also heavily influenced by World War II because Southampton, the nearby port town, was heavily bombed. And so a lot of people were coming into Winchester to get away from that mass shelling and whatnot. And it's episode 2, actually, of the podcast. This girl had this really haunted house that used to be army barracks that was turned into housing. And the most unbelievable amounts of activity happened in this house. It was used as a hospital. And I think the scariest part was when she was little, they knew there was this nurse in this house. They kept seeing this apparition of this nurse. And she said she was laying in bed one night, and she could feel it coming on. She could feel the room getting cold. She could feel everything, just the whole energy shifting. And
the world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
What you doing?
Trying on glasses with Zenny's 3D virtual try-on.
Wow, that's pretty cool. But those glasses kind of make you look like your Uncle Bob.
Oh, not exactly the look I was going for. Okay, how about these clear glasses? Oh, or these round ones?
Very on trend. I like both on you.
You know, I also like these aviator sunglasses.
Wait, are those the actual prices? I say get all of them.
Seriously, why not, right?
Oh, now I want new glasses.
Zenni.com. Quality prescription glasses starting at $6.95.
she closed her eyes and she opened them and she saw the nurse standing in the doorway.
Oh, wow.
And she closed her eyes again, and she's in bunk bed. So there's the slats of the bed, and she's looking through the slats of the bed, and she closed her eyes after she saw the nurse, and she opened them up again to see if she was still there. And she was eye to eye with the nurse looking at her through the slats of the bed.
Damn.
And that whole episode, I think what was so profound about it to me was she was really severely bullied in school and whatnot because she was the girl who had the spooky house and believed in ghosts. And she really didn't want to talk to me because it had been so traumatizing. And I felt really honored that she was able to open up and share her story and be heard and felt seen and not judged. Because I think sometimes when you have paranormal experiences, you get one of two reactions. You get, oh my God, that's so cool. Or, but yeah, it was the plumbing. Or yeah, it was the wind or whatever. Yeah. And of course there is some of that. Of course people see ghosts where there's not ghosts. It is the plumbing. It is the wind. But sometimes you know what you saw what you saw. And they had a lot of activity in that house. But it's so common out here, as you said. It's so, we have so much history entrenched into everything, and buildings get repurposed for housing or schools or, post offices or, police stations turn into pubs. And that makes kind of this rife environment where something that shouldn't be haunted inadvertently becomes it.
Mm-hmm.
Merle,
try being a parent. What? Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was going to say you got to fill your quota for this half hour. You got 1 minute.
Dude, I already 20 words 20 minutes ago. No, just joking. Being a paranormal investigator, going to locations and then saying to your client, I'm sorry, but I don't feel your place is haunted, and these are the reasons. They get kind of cranky at you because some get cranky, but some are relieved. But the ones that get cranky, they really play up the fact that their house is haunted. Oh man, you got to come for dinner here. Alice haunts my house type thing. And then when you have the evidence or the facts of why it's not haunted, like the EMFs or like the plumbing or faulty windows and stuff, people get kind of chapped. But next hour, Dave, or half hour, I got some London ghost stories from when I lived there. I have 2.
Wow.
You were in East London, weren't you?
Pardon?
You were in East London, weren't you? Borough
I lived
Market.
in East London for a year. Yep.
I've never been. I've
You gotta
never
go.
been. That's good
You
enough.
got to make it out here.
Yeah.
I don't like soccer, so
Oh boy.
that's just not going to happen. That's just not.
Neither
gonna
do
happen.
I.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, Merle is here for Ghosts of the Great White North. He stops in once a month to chat everything paranormal with us, and our special guest tonight, the West London Witch. We call her Rebecca Struzina here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get ghostly when we return with Merle on Spaced Out Radio. Merle. All right, we're clear.
Awesome. But we're still live on YouTube.
Yeah. Do you know Simon Entwistle?
Me?
Yes.
No.
Oh, you need to have him on your show. You will send me a million thank yous after you have him on your show. And he does.
Do you know him?
Yes, he's been on our show like 5 times.
Would you be able to make an introduction?
Are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
All right, let me add you here.
Yeah. I'm always looking for new stories.
Simon does a paranormal ghost tour all around London, and he is very well up, and he's a storyteller and a folklorist, and he's got the most beautiful voice you have ever heard, and he's been on BBC a number of times telling the folklore. Like the first time I ever interviewed him, I had him on to discuss the ghosts of Jack the Ripper.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I just added you on Facebook. Send me a reminder, and I'll get him for
I
you.
will. That would be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was your birthday.
It was on Saturday. The big 4-0. Say it, Dave.
Happy
Just say it.
birthday.
Lordy, Merle is 40.
I've heard that about 17 times a day. The day before my birthday and up until today. But it retires tonight, right, Dave?
No.
Oh. Okay.
I've got 361 more days. Yeah.
I'll mute you.
And then you got to find something that rhymes with 41.
No, then I'll just give up.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was good. Had a surprise party put on.
Which I wasn't invited to.
You got to talk to Sandra. She planned it. So it was fun. It was good. The girlfriend put it on, and everyone was there except Dave. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So nice. I introduced the guy as my best friend, and I don't even get invited to his 40th birthday party. Isn't that nice? No, it wasn't my birthday.
Not everyone was there.
No. My birthday's not till May, and Merle's not invited.
I'm invited. I'm just going to show up.
No, you're not.
I'll do it.
No.
Did you do a birthday investigation?
Yes. The previous week we did. We went to a place called the Old Courthouse Inn in a town called Powell River.
Uh-huh.
And we had some really good evidence.
Cool.
We actually recorded it. I put my camera down. We were in a basement. It used to be a provincial office. So it's 3 stories. It's a building from 1939. And we were in the basement. And then on the first floor, we'd set up a motion sensor and one of our cameras. And no one was up there. Like, the hotel was ours for 2 nights. And we heard footsteps go by the camera, and then our motion sensor went off.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the cool things that happened. And the room that this happened in is alleged one of the haunted rooms of the hotel. The door opens on its own, not just clicks open, but you can hear the actual old doorknob turn and then open. It was neat, and we experienced that too when we were on the main floor. We heard that happen, and we're like, "Oh crap!" Went upstairs, and the door was open.
Wow.
So, a lot of cool things happened. Yeah.
Hey, Rebecca, I've sent you Simon Entwistle's Facebook contact on Messenger.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's really kind of you.
Yeah, you'll love him. You will love him.
That's great. Yeah, I'm always looking for new stories, and they come from things like this, people recommending people and things like that.
Merle, FAP wants you to do something stupid for your birthday.
Thank you, FAP.
Yeah.
I will. I'll do something stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll do yet, but I'll do it. Suggestions?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean...
Actually... say it, Dave.
You're old enough for a beige Volvo, man. Just go do it. Just go do it.
Just get a beige. How about with my F-150, I get a different colored canopy?
Well, you are old enough to now. Hold on, guys.
Okay.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you guys hanging on out with us. Talking some ghosts tonight. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's News Wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Ghosts of the Great White North happens once a month here in the middle of the month, where my main man Merle comes on in to discuss all things paranormal. And we got a special guest tonight, all the way from the United Kingdom via California, Rebecca Struzina, known as the West London Witch. Welcome back, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Yes, and if you're just tuning on in, this past weekend, Merle hit the big 4-0. Mm-hmm. Lordy, Merle is officially 40. There we go. All right, let's get some ghost stories from the United Kingdom. Merle, take it away.
Sure. So I have 3 for you, things that happened. Off air, we were just talking about, I lived in the UK. I lived in East London for a year. And one of the first full-body apparitions I ever saw in my life happened there. I was staying at this hostel / flat, I guess they call it over there, apartments in North America. And it was from the 1800s. It used to be a brothel. It used to be a pub. Then it went back to a brothel, like Jack the Ripper-y type time. Then it was a hotel. Then now it's a hostel. And everyone said, kind of avoid the 3rd floor. Everyone said it was haunted. And I didn't think much of it then. And when I was coming home from work one night, I went up to the 3rd floor to use, basically living in a hostel, a short-term apartment. It would be the only clean washroom at the end of the night because people don't want to go up the stairs. There's no elevators in those type of buildings. And I go up to the 3rd floor, and then I see this woman would it be Victorian era? Jack the Ripper? Yeah. Type, I guess, prostitute dress. It was like a long mint green dress, and she had like Irish orange hair, very curly and long, just like you see in the movies. And she looked at me and then just flipped the skirt up, and I was like, what the WTF? And I didn't process that because I was coming home from work sober. I worked at a pub, but I didn't even have a lick of alcohol that night because it was a work night or school night, I called it. And I kind of shook my head, and then poof, it was gone. And when I went to go tell the manager downstairs the following day, I'm like, "Has this ever happened?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." So I guess that was a constant occurrence at this place.
Did she look like flesh and blood? Like
it looked like I'm talking to you or Dave, like it like a full body apparition. It was like bright and vibrant. Then it was gone. I was on no drugs, no alcohol, and I'd already been into the paranormal when I lived there. I just kind of was doing my other thing there. But even thinking about it, just the mental image kind of makes me shiver, because I researched why the whole dress thing, and I guess back in the day, that's what they did to try and lure potential dates. And I declined because I'm not into that. And then coincidentally, a couple weeks later, I was coming home from work, and I went down one of the alleys in the older part of East London. Well, it's all old. And I kind of felt uneasy, and I felt something grab my back and just push me in the alley. I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna get mugged. Why did I take the alley? It was right after London Bridge, to be exact. Like right when you cross that, there was a little alley. And I looked behind me, and there was nothing there. And then I met up with my friend on the other side. He was calling me over because it was close to where I live, and that was the first time I probably would have been touched by, I guess, that would have been a ghost, in my opinion, because nothing else touched me. It actually pushed me to where I almost fell. So those are a couple of my spooky England stories, Dave.
And how about for you, Rebecca? Anything juicy in the paranormal happen to you?
You know what? This house is pretty spooky. This is an old, they think it's Victorian cottage. And my nearest neighbor on this side is a very, very old Anglo-Saxon church and graveyard. There is water running on all four sides of this house because this whole area is fed by streams. I'm actually in Winchester down here because we moved right after in July, but I still work up in London. And this cottage, if you look at the outside of it, it's on our Instagram. It looks like the quintessential, like Hansel and Gretel witch in the woods cottage. It kind of has that just spooky vibe when you just look at it. But this house has a lot of very spirited things happening in it. When we first moved in our office, there's 2 wall sconces on either side of the computer. And it was the first time I'd been in the house by myself. And I was editing an episode of The West London Witch. And I had everything on loud, which I don't usually do. I was just doing a rough edit. I usually am in headphones. But because no one was here and I was just doing a rough edit, I had everything running quite loud. And it was, I was editing this episode. And in the episode, the storyteller was saying, my name is Ruth, and I'm the woman buried in the basement. He was talking about an EVP session. And as this happens, this wall sconce on the right-hand side gets like this low-frequency, like buzz, like a flicker, but kind of like a buzzing flicker. Now, I pulled out my phone because I had just had the electricians here the week before. So I was like, I'm going to send this to them. I want my money back. They didn't fix the light. So I'm recording it for purposes of I'm going to go after the electricians for not actually fixing the electrics. And then as it's kind of proceeding, I just get this really horrible vibe, like I'm not alone. And I look down at my dog, and my dog is looking up at me wide-eyed, absolutely terrified. And I just say to the room, is there someone here? And the light goes off and back on again. And I said, okay, if there's someone here who would like to talk, can you turn the light on and off? And it does. Light turns off, light turns back on. And of course, this is filmed. It's all on Instagram because I was filming it to get at the electricians. And as soon as that happened, I just thought, oh God, that's quite scary. We've literally been in this house a week. And so I took the dog, I left the room. And that room up there is quite, it has an energy. We always have butterflies in that room, which I think is quite a nice thing. I think that's quite a sweet kind of sign of the other side. But dead of winter, you'll have butterflies in there, even when all the windows are closed. I don't know how they're getting in. And they're not moths. They're big old butterflies. We've had things where, out of the corner of your eye, you see things. A few months ago, I was taking laundry upstairs. You know how you can kind of see through the crack in the door when the door is open? And the bedroom light was on, and I'm looking through the crack in the door, and I saw this woman sitting on our bed. And like an older lady, like in her nightgown. I couldn't see the front of her. I could just see the back of her. And she was just sitting on the bed. And as soon as I saw her, I think maybe she sensed that I could see her too. It was almost like we freaked each other out, because the second I blinked, it was gone. And it was almost like we were both startled. There's nothing in this house that feels dark and scary, but there's definitely a vibe. And we've had friends who do not want to stay in this house. We had some friends come over, and we told them about the lights flickering, about the butterflies, and the boys were upstairs in the office in that room playing video games late at night. And all of a sudden, all the electrics in the room just start freaking out. The projector starts going, the Xbox starts doing weird things, loading in and out of games. And then all of a sudden, there's this big butterfly flying around the room. And our friend was absolutely terrified. Well, they went to bed that night. And I guess in the night, my fiance Kyle gets out of bed, and he's walking around the side of the bed. And apparently I sat right up in bed. I stared at him completely wide-eyed and started. Kyle said it was a roar, like a guttural roar, screaming. And then he said it was like The Exorcist. I was just flailing and, like moving all around. And so he held on to me and was like, "It's me, it's me, it's me." But of course, our friends are in the other room, staying in the house, already terrified. I'd obviously had this night terror. And the next morning, we were like, how'd you guys sleep? And they were like, "Well, we didn't sleep. Your house is absolutely terrifying." And we'd offered them the cottage for a week while we were out of town. We're like, "You can come down, enjoy it." They have never been back to the house since. They're like, that house has weird vibes. So, I think just living in these houses that are so incredibly old, people, it would be remiss to think that people didn't die in this house for whatever reason. People were born in their homes. They died in their homes. That's just how it was. And I did ask before we moved in if there was any stigmatized events I should know about. But the laws out here are not like they are in California. They don't have to tell you anything. As long as there's been one sale in between. So I'm sure that people died in this house, probably not brutally or anything like that. But I also think being so close to the cemetery, it's literally our nearest neighbor. I think maybe sometimes things just kind of end up in this house, and with us talking about the paranormal all the time and being quite receptive, I just wonder if sometimes things pop in to see what's going on. So, yeah.
You're like a ghost hostel.
I kind of think kind of like a railway station. Sometimes it feels like Grand Central in here, because nothing feels terribly grounded, but there's kind of an ever-present wave of folks coming through.
Why do you
think... you feel you doing... Oh, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No. Hey, if it's your quota time.
Okay, I'll get it out of the way right here. Do you feel you doing your shows and the genre you do and talking about it all the time, talking about the dead, could attract the ghosts maybe from your neighboring cemetery? Or do you have any connection with the afterlife? Do you practice with that sort of stuff?
I don't practice anything that has to do with the afterlife. I know people do. They do necromancy.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. It's another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Meet Gagillionaire Terry. While his love of streaming horror movies has him constantly on the edge of his seat, his internet bill won't give him a scare.
Oh, don't go in there. I'm telling you.
Because since Terry upgraded to AT&T Fiber with hyper gig speeds, he doesn't worry about data caps or equipment fees.
Come on, man. The door's open for a reason.
And best yet, he also doesn't stress about a price increase at 12 months, because with the amazing Gagillionaire lifestyle comes an exquisite sense of tranquility. Most of the time. Live like a Gagillionaire. Get straightforward pricing with AT&T Fiber, internet that upgrades everything. No data caps, no equipment fees, and no price increase at 12 months.
Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
What's the big deal?
Where can you get pizza, bread twists, specialty chicken, and more for just $5.99 each?
Is it at Domino's?
He hands off hand-tossed pizza and a marble cookie brownie. He's going! There's a lot of variety on the radio and at Domino's too, where you can
mix and match 2 or more. $5.99 each at Domino's.
2-item minimum. Pan pizza, bone-in wings, and bread bowls will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary.
And that always has like a really scary terminology. But even things like Ouija boards and things like that, I don't do that. I would never do that in this house because I don't know what I would unleash, and I have to live here, so I'm definitely not going to do that. I do think, though, there is that law of attraction. I do think I'm very sensitive as well to all sorts of different energies and things like that. So I think that when that kind of beacon is on, it does attract things to you. And I absolutely think, talking about the paranormal all the time, that probably doesn't help. It's kind of like being on an airplane and you hear someone kind of like the row next to you talking about, dogs or your favorite sports team or something. You're all of a sudden piqued, and maybe you might pipe in with something just because, you kind of feel like the door is open. They're already talking about it. And I wonder if that's something that might be going on in this house as well. So, yeah, I definitely think the door has been opened by me, by the genre, by the show, by everyone else bringing their own stories into this house. Because from all over the globe, I interview people and all their stories come into this home. So it's kind of an interesting mix of people and energy and things like that.
When you look at everything that surrounds you in your area, and the buildings are as old as they are, I mean, at times with what's happening to you, do you feel yourself getting sensitive to the ghosts and being able to maybe feel what they are saying, or feel the walls talking, or the trees, or the brick sidewalks? Do you feel that?
Well, I think in London in particular, it's so overly stimulating anyways, with just the living, between the planes, and the trains, and the cars, and the boats. And, I feel London is an incredibly overstimulating place. So I lived in London for 7 years. And for me, I always tried to get out into like the royal parks and whatnot to try and reconnect and ground to something that wasn't skyscrapers. And I do think that you just have this sense of, walking through London in particular, that you are merely a part of a very, very large story. There's been so many people that have passed through, so many different world events that are wonderful and tragic. And there's been so much, new people coming in, and yet there's been times like plagues and lots of people dying. And so I think that I think that maybe it's not so much listening to having the trees talk to you, but more just being aware that you're just a really small part of a very, very big thing. And I think that's probably the same for most big cities, whether it be Milan or Paris or New York City or wherever. So,
do you believe then that the newer generations, from before you and now after you, are actually paying attention to this extremely unique situation of paranormal that literally surrounds everyone?
I don't think all spirits do. Well, Merle, you can pipe in on this as well. I think that some spirits do. I think you've got different types of hauntings. You've got like residual hauntings, or just energy that's been imprinted onto things. I know Merle loves his haunted objects, so we'll get into that. So I don't think that all, after everyone dies, they're all still kicking about. I think that some people really do pass over, maybe nothing happens to some people. I don't pretend to know what happens in the afterlife, but I do think that for whatever, some reason or another, some people do come back. And whether it just be to say hello to their loved ones, or they've gotten a bit confused, they died tragically, and maybe they're not quite sure what their next step is in their chapter. Or maybe some places the veil is really thin and people kind of have this transient way of coming in and out of, the two worlds. I don't know. And I kind of like not having all the answers to it as well, because it means that you can always explore it and always learn new things. So I don't think everyone's still around, but I do think that some people are, and they do want to be known and seen and heard. And then others know they're being seen.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think with the amount of like people, especially a place like England, the amount of people, the amount of like wars, death, like you said, plagues, battles, everything like that. I think the energy imprint of death, passing, tragedy is so rich in a place like that I'd probably almost bet that there's more spirits than there are living people in some places. Did they pass over? We don't know. That's why there's guys like me that'll come in with their little gear and check it out. But yeah, I think England obviously has rich history, and I think newer generations moving there, newer generations that live there, they shouldn't forget it. I think they should cherish it and investigate it and research it, even not on a paranormal level.
And Brits are funny people because they're either totally into ghosts or they don't want to talk about it at all. So sometimes, there is that British way of just, rationalizing things or shoving things off. But I do think I agree with you. If there's something going on, there's no harm in looking into it a little bit more. If there was something else going on in your building, you would want to look into it a little bit more. So why not that as well? And you can always come to the conclusion it's not ghosts.
Yeah, and the classic line in Canada, it's probably, since we're Commonwealth to Britain, is, I don't believe in ghosts. Ghosts are nonsense. However, there was this one time, and then it leads them into their, it's a ghost but not ghost story.
Same thing over here. They love a haunted pub, a haunted theater, but that's just the stories. That's just the stories.
And just one time when I was there when I was 17,
Yeah.
They had experiences. So, yeah.
Do you find that there is a lot of spirit activity around certain places of gathering, whether it's pubs or shopping malls? Is there a huge paranormal adventure sitting there right around where the people gather?
Yeah, and there are some historical reasons for that as well. So let's take the city of Southampton, for example. Massive port town. It's where the Titanic sailed from. For example, using your shopping mall. They have a regular old shopping mall. It was built in the 80s. It's hideous. Not scary, not spooky at all. But for some reason, there's a lot of paranormal activity. And there's lots of people seen walking around, and they're not of this time, and they're, living their lives inside of this shopping mall. And for a long time, it was like, well, why is that happening? Well, it turns out there was a plague pit that the building is built upon. So people are seeing things because there's literally a mass grave underneath the shopping mall. So that would be one reason. Another thing that they like to do out here, we're very, very short on land, and we are a very, quickly expanding population. So another thing that happens is that they will take out gravestones. Sometimes they take out the bodies. Sometimes they don't take out the bodies. And then they build housing on top of the graveyard. And I kind of think even if you did move the bodies out, I still can see an argument for why that area would be haunted. So people are living on top of grave sites, and they don't even know that they're living on top of grave sites. We have catacombs in London that are still, beneath the city. So I think just by the nature of the fact that we've had a hell of a lot more people here that have now passed than we still have living, that you are going to have a lot of that activity. And particularly somewhere that's so densely populated like London, there's just not enough space for all these past people.
What are the ghosts like over there? Are they friendly? Are they? And I swear, a shadow person just walked behind you by your fireplace.
Do not say that.
Yeah, by your left hand. I swear it. Somebody's going to have to rewind the tape here for about 30 seconds. I swear there was a shadow that just walked by.
I'm looking now.
Are you kidding me?
No. I don't kid about stuff like that.
Oh my goodness, just giving me the heat. You know, it's only 4:57 in the morning here. It's still very dark and scary outside.
I'm gonna look for it right now, but yeah, I just gotta find the part. But I'll tell you if it's my imagination or not. But
okay, well, I'll answer your question while you're looking. I think it runs the gamut. I think just like anywhere else, you've got, friendly ghosts. You've got ghosts that are just kind of on loop, kind of those residual hauntings that are not intelligent at all. They're not doing anything other than walking down a hallway or putting their boots on and just living their kind of time loop.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your poltergeists, and you've got really scary spirits as well, or ones that are really traumatized. Lots of, the same women in white or women in gray. All those same tropes, they kind of seem to be universal. And you kind of get the whole range of them, just like anywhere else.
I'm still my head's wrapped around the mall you're talking about and seeing the period piece clothing, but that'd make a lot of sense.
There's I want to say it's the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. One of my listeners will know because we've done an episode on it. And I'm sure it must be Drury Lane. They have, they were seeing this cavalier up in the balcony of the theater. And he was in a gray suit, and he had, the tricorn hat with big feather plume in it. And they kept seeing him walking around, audience members would say it. Did you see it?
Everyone, just hold on here because we do got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Make that the top. I can't tell my time since the time change. Merle is back for Ghost of the Great White North, and we have Rebecca Struzina hanging out here talking ghosts on Spaced Out Radio. I am looking right now.
Oh, we don't usually have things happen in this room. I've come down into the living room. As you can see, Merle, you've not seen this room.
No, there's no guitars this time.
No guitars this time. I thought that was a bit extra for 4 a.m. I needed that.
See, on the replay, it's not showing anything.
But you saw it.
I swear I saw it. But on the replay, it's not showing.
What did it look like?
Just a quick shadow, boom, gone. 1 second, if that. I don't know if any of our crowd saw that. I'm not seeing it on the replay now.
How weird. I didn't see it at the time.
No, it was behind you. What I saw.
I don't doubt it.
Hold on. I think I just found it. So, hold on. So your hand comes up. Okay, your hand comes back. And
this will be a first.
You guys are going to make it so no one ever wants to come to my house ever again.
Okay, that time I did not see it. Come on. Okay. You do all this walk like an Egyptian shit, and then it's it's somewhere. No, it's kind of cool. Okay. Now it's not there again. Let's go back there. I'm going to watch this 100 friggin' times.
You have to send it to me if you find it.
Well, we'll play it on the show if that happens.
Dave, I'll be right back.
Merle!
Yeah, drink refill.
Merle.
How tall was it? Was it the full-bodied height?
Like just above, head above, kind of in between the picture and the fireplace mantle. So I'm going to try from about there. I'm going to find this goddamn thing. I've got a big screen right here. This is what I'm looking at.
I'm intrigued. I'm trying to think of rational explanations in the room.
Yeah, screw rational.
I would say it was something driving by, but I mean, it's
there's
absolutely
a
pitch
hand.
black outside.
And now it's not there again.
Was it a shadow? Did I make a shadow?
It wasn't from you, though. No, it was while you were talking. I don't know. Maybe it was my imagination. I don't know. Hi, Margie O. How you doing? Peppa H. Nice to see you. Al Menial. How are you? Maybe it was a little back. Maybe a little further. Okay, so we're at
a lot of viewers tonight.
What are we at? We're at 142 right now. That's
just
good.
on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm gonna just continue playing. That's gonna piss me off. It's gonna piss me off.
Timestamp it.
Yeah, I know where it is. So it's right before the break.
Dave, do you get a hard copy of the video, or does it just go right to YouTube?
Just goes right to YouTube. Davey Wavy. Brazelhoff, the man who loves the reverse headstock on guitars. Yep, there he is. Giving a little Merle right there. Lordy, Merle is 40, people. Just letting you know, in case you haven't heard yet. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, how you doing, buddy? Hold on, let's see who else is here first. Downshift with a nice, simple, yet gentle Merle. You know, hey, you need gentle ones. Gorgeous Embers Paraworld, how are you? Goober Bear, nice to see you. Snakes on a UFO, welcome back.
Dave, do people know why they call me Merle? Have you ever told the story? Or is
gorgeous
it just Merle?
Diesel girl. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm caught up. It's your middle name. It's Merle's middle name.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the truth. Right there. That's the truth. Lordy, Merle is now 40. Robert D., how are you?
It's a drinking game. None of us would be talking right now.
Yeah, we'd be on the floor.
Yeah, we would be absolutely.
Dave, that's the Shane you spoke to on the phone the other day.
I know.
Okay.
He looks like a Shane. Oh,
you're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. And yes, Shane does look like a Shane. We're just going to clarify that. All the audience out in Radio Land will be like, who's Shane? Who's Shane? Well,
you can tell.
Oh, Shane works with Merle. That's what it is. Shane works with Merle, but he looks like a Shane. You know, hair is always up and peppy. You know, a little flicker to the side that he does all that time. You know, he's the type of guy who has a flower tattoo surrounded by wheatgrass on his right shoulder. He's that guy. He is totally that guy. That's who Shane is.
He's from Quebec.
It makes more sense. A fleur-de-lis with some wheatgrass surrounding the bottom of it. Hey, I want to remind everybody that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button, everyone, and that is tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We really do appreciate it. And digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, KPNL, and soon to be Odyssey Radio. Odyssey Radio. Yeah. We're going to add another digital format here very, very soon. All right, moving on. Desert Clam set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Obnixily. Obnixily is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Website, spacedoutradio.com. Plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Man, I feel like I'm all over the place tonight. Why? Well, we celebrated Merle's 40th birthday this weekend. Pop goes the Merle, people. Pop goes the Merle. As we are talking Ghosts of the Great White North, our great guest tonight, Rebecca Struzina, otherwise known as the West London Witch, up at the witching hour, talking with us from the United Kingdom. Merle, Rebecca, welcome back.
Thank
Hello.
you. I guess it's St. Patrick's Day for you over there.
Oh, gosh, it is. That means nothing in England. We don't do anything for it in England. It's a much bigger deal in the U.S., and I don't know in Canada, but it seems to just be kind of a non-thing here, which might tell you a lot about English-Irish relations. I don't know. But, yeah, we won't be doing much out here.
Let's get right to the paranormal stories here. All right. Thanks for dating things because, you know, our radio stations take care of that. Appreciate that. And let's get right to the paranormal here. And for you, as we were talking right before the break, Rebecca, you know, you walk around and everything is historic. You know, do you have a favorite ghost haunt there that you like to maybe congregate around, go research, or just you've heard a great bunch of stories about?
I always recommend that people go to the Tower of London for a litany of different reasons. One is a really...
The world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart, too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. It's another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Meet Gagillionaire Terry. While his love of streaming horror movies has him constantly on the edge of his seat, his internet bill won't give him a scare.
Oh, don't go in there. I'm telling you.
Because since Terry upgraded to AT&T Fiber with hyper gig speeds, he doesn't worry about data caps or equipment fees.
Come on, man. The door's open for a reason.
And best yet, he also doesn't stress about a price increase at 12 months, because with the amazing Gagillionaire lifestyle comes an exquisite sense of tranquility. Most of the time. Live like a Gagillionaire. Get straightforward pricing with AT&T Fiber, internet that upgrades everything. No data caps, no equipment fees, and no price increase at 12 months.
Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
Really well set up museum in the sense that they do free tours with the yeoman every 30 minutes so they can go through and tell you all the history, all the stories. You're not just kind of there not knowing what things are without context. But then you can go through it by yourself. So you go on your little 30-minute tour and then you can then go back and see, like, you know, where Anne Boleyn was beheaded, or you can see the crown jewels, or you can look at the war museum. You can go into the towers themselves, the palace itself, and it's a really, really, really good time. It's definitely a take the day kind of situation. But my other favorite thing to do, because Tower of London, as Merle will know, is out kind of East London way. It's very, very close to Tower Hamlets and Whitechapel area, which is where Jack the Ripper did all of his work. So if you're looking for a really good day out in London, I say do the day at Tower of London and then head on over to Whitechapel and do one of the Jack the Ripper walking tours, because it's a great way to see the city. You would never go to these places ordinarily. You might not want to go to these places ordinarily without a tour guide and an entourage of people, because it's the old, district of London where there was a lot of, sex work and all that jazz. So those are really fun places to kind of go because you can actually see living history. There's a lot of the Victorian buildings have been retained and whatnot. But I always think the walking tours in London, whether it be the Jack the Ripper one or a ghost one, are just a fantastic way to see parts of the city that you would never ordinarily find. We went on one in Bank, and I have never been able to find those places ever again. They're these tiny little rivets of alleyways and, urban cemeteries, and it's incredible, but it's definitely great to go with people who can tell you the stories and can show you where they are, because you won't find them by yourself. It's just so embedded in the city itself. So I always think Tower of London is great. That's a really, really fun one to go to. And you really do get the essence when you're there. You can feel, Anne Boleyn being there or Lady Jane Grey. It's a really fun place. It's definitely got a very strong vibe, for sure.
For those of us who've never been there or had that strong vibe where there is such historic hauntings, let alone not just no-name, Joe Smith or Jane Smith who, lived in the 16th century, but for the popularization of it, does that energy you feel is it manifested often with the stories and the folklore that goes along with living in such an aged town?
Sure. I think so. Say we talk about, Tower of London. Is some of it suggested to you? You know that these kings and these queens and these, royalty were held there, because Tower of London was used for royalty. It wasn't used for your general folk. Even Queen Elizabeth was held there as a child. There was the story of the two princes that went missing, and they actually found them, many, many hundreds of years later, dead in a box. Is this power of suggestion? You've been suggested that there is all of this tragedy and sadness and majesty, and therefore you feel it in a certain way. Maybe, I don't know. The power of suggestion is something we really can't ignore, that kind of confirmation bias, if you will. But just that sense of history, that is definitely palpable. And I don't know if that's because of your surroundings and your environment and what you're seeing around you, just that kind of visual stimuli, or if it's something that's deeper woven into the fabric of the city itself. I don't know, but it's definitely palpable. And like I said, you probably get that vibe from other big cities or even somewhere small and spooky. I don't know. But there's definitely probably some power of suggestion that's there as well. Who knows?
Warwick Castle in England. That place gave me the vibes, man. I guess they say that there's a spirit that goes up and down the, I don't know what they're called, like the circle-y stairs at the corners of the castle. I guess turret? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
And I found that out after being there, but when I was walking around and just touring the turrets kind of on my own, it felt like you're being watched. It didn't feel like you were alone when I knew I was alone in there. And man, the walls if you fly on the wall of those places, or even like the old torture chamber areas of all these castles, because they're all well equipped with like their own done out torture room with all these medieval devices that were used. Like they were all used. Some are replicas, but like that stuff must have so much energy imprints on them that they have to have spirits. They have to have some sort of communication. And I don't know if they let paranormal teams investigate those type of places. I've never seen it. You'd think you'd see it on the TV shows, but I've never really seen it.
it's really hard to get into those historic places because they're in the National Trust. So they actually belong to the to the country itself. So it's really, really hard to get in there. BBC and big publications, they're able to kind of go in there and whatnot. But yeah, it does kind of make it unattainable for smaller teams to get into. But you never know. Sometimes I've found with the podcast, sometimes just by asking nicely, some things happen. Yeah. And you do a lot of historic places. So you know what it's like to ask nicely and pray that they'll let you in. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The energy is palpable, and you can definitely have a sense and a feel that you're not alone, for sure.
Mm-hmm. What would be your bucket? Because you've interviewed a lot of people, a lot of teams, a lot of ghost hunting, and like a couple of your shows, the last 3 I really enjoyed, actually. But what would be your bucket list of places to investigate, and why? 2. Just looking for 2.
2. They're actually both in my hometown, oddly enough. I definitely believe you don't want to forget where your roots are. One of them is one of the high schools in my hometown. There is so much history and folklore surrounding it, which I'm sure has been bolstered by teens, myself included, telling great ghost stories about it. But it's called Bakersfield High School, and it used to be pardon me if I get the history wrong, because like I said, the folklore is astounding. But it used to be, I think, they say it was a hospital at one time, and there's a crematorium that's down in the boiler room of the theater. And there's been so much haunted activity there. And they said that this couple, they were kind of a Romeo and Juliet situation. They weren't allowed to go to prom together, and they jumped off the back of the bleachers and had an untimely end. And there's all sorts of paranormal activity purported to go on there. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to give it an investigation and see what's true and what's not, and where the history matches up and where it doesn't. So that's one of them. And the other one, there's a haunted hotel in my hometown, but they've not been very forthcoming with talking to me, which is not usual. Help a local girl out. But that's one that has a lot of myth and lore and legend connected to it. Handprints on the walls that they try to scrub away, and they're still there, and people being seen in the hotel rooms. I love hotels. I think hotels are fascinating for paranormal activity, because you got so many people coming in and out of them and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So those are 2 that I'd really like to do. And there's another one. We stayed at Sierra Sky Ranch in Yosemite in Oakhurst, and we had a really crazy paranormal experience there. That's on the show. And I'd love to go back. We didn't know we were there staying as guests. We had no idea it was haunted when we rented the room, but now I would love to go back with the mind of doing an investigation. I would not go back for the mind of having a good night's sleep, because that was definitely not what happened.
What happened?
Oh gosh. So we went up to Yosemite, and we got a really good deal on this hotel room. And I was a bit sketched out because, as most people know, tourism in California is not cheap. And we get there, and it's beautiful. It's this beautiful ranch, style hotel. It's absolutely gorgeous. But as we're taking in, the guy was so funny. He was like taking on this really extensive tour. This is where the coffee is. This is where this is. He showed us to our room. It was really cute. And as we get to our room, he's like, I don't usually tell people this, but this place is haunted. And if you go on YouTube, you will see all the evidence. And we were like, thank you. Thank you very much. And we get into the room, and we're like, well, obviously we've got to check out the YouTube videos. And neither of us were really impressed. We were both kind of like, okay, they've done some investigations, whatever. And we put it out of our mind. And it was the last night. We had brought a bottle of wine with us, and we needed a bottle opener. And so I went up to the front desk, and I said, oh, do you have a bottle opener? And she said, yes. And I said, the guy who checked us in said this place was haunted. Do you know any stories? And she said, yeah, my parents actually bought this place, and I lived here as a child. I've got loads of stories. And so we sat and chatted with her for hours, and she told us all these stories, and it was really, really fascinating. But there's this mezzanine level in the kind of the front lobby lounge area. And like I said, I'm the crazy lady who asks if I can go into people's houses and things like that. And I asked her, I said, can we go up in the mezzanine level? And she says, it's absolutely not for guests. It's not health and safety. It's not secure. But yeah, I'll take you up there. So we go up there, and Kyle decides that he's going to record. He's going to do a little investigating. So he's got his camera on, and he's recording, and we're up there for like 5 minutes. And I'm standing behind him, and I can see the time is ticking up. And we get done. Thank you very much. Super cool. And we're sitting in their library area, and we're looking at the video. And the video is us walking down the stairs and then us walking back up the stairs. It's about a 3-second video, and there is nothing in between. It's not 2 separate videos. It's one video, walking down, walking up. And so we tried to see, could you pause it? Is that a thing? No. Did you stop recording and then start recording again? No, it's one fluid video. And then upon further investigation, there is a child in the corner of the video. And if you take like a screenshot, you can see it. And that there is known to be a child in a closet that is in that exact area.
Wow.
And we have this picture of this child sitting in the closet right where it cuts out.
Oh, wow.
And then that night we go to bed and weren't spooked out or anything. The room did have a very eerie vibe, but it was fine. But I've never had sleep paralysis before. I've never had it since. I hope I never have it again. But I had this really vivid dream. And long story short, I had this horrible dream, and my eyes flash open. I can see Kyle laying in the bed next to me, and I just feel all these hands pushing me into the bed. And it feels like the mattress is about to, swallow you up. And I'm just trying to scream to have Kyle wake me up, because I'm completely aware that I'm not waking myself up at this point. And I'm screaming, but nothing is coming out. It's like I can hear the scream in my head, but it's totally silent. And finally, I have this one last triumphant scream. And all Kyle hears is, And in my mind, it's like this really mighty roar, but it absolutely wasn't. And he just kind of woke up and looked at me. He's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm really scared. Wow. And that's what woke me up. But I sat there for the rest of the night. I did not sleep. And the next morning, we were speaking to them. And I said, do people leave? And they said, all the time. We have people leave this hotel all the time. They don't stay the night. They sleep in the hall or something like that. They don't make it through the night. So I'd love to go back there with the eye of investigating, because it's got fascinating history. It was used as a tuberculosis hospital. And so it's had a lot of sadness and passing in there, but I'm sure a lot of happy times as well. It's this beautiful hotel. So
I want to see that photo.
Yeah. Do you have a bucket list, Merle, of places you'd like to investigate?
Yeah, I do. But it is escaping my mind right now. Probably Warwick Castle would be one, since we're just talking about it. I know this is very basic B ghost hunting, but I would love to check out Waverly Hills, the Conjuring House, Lizzie Bourdain House, just all the basic ones, so I can do that on my little list. For me, I like a lot of the unspoken history, a lot of the word of mouth locations. Those are the ones that I kind of pounce on. There's a lot up here where, hey man, you should come check this out. You say, hey man, come check this out, I probably will. If it's not popular, those are usually my first locations. There's nothing better than going to like a location no team has gone to before, no historian has gone to before, where you are the historian and you look for the stories and you tell those stories with a little bit of a paranormal kick at the end. That's what I thrive on. There's a couple places in Washington. I'm already planning a road trip for Washington and Oregon for the summertime. These tiny little ghost towns from the old mining days that nobody goes to. They're just there. And I'm going to go to them. I'm going to investigate them. And I'm going to do a lot of historical research, which I've already started. So my bucket lists are usually places nobody's heard of, in all honesty. But yes, I want to go to those mainstream ones. I said, like, when I win the lotto this week, I will be planning all of those over the next couple months. I will be busy.
Have fun.
How about you? I will. I'll bring you on one or two.
Yeah. You couldn't catch me going to Waverly Hills. Could not catch me.
That's a trigger for you. That's just a trigger for you.
I've talked so much smack about that there's no way that I can go. You know? It's like going to, I've talked so much smack about Coldplay over the years. There's just no way I could ever go to a Coldplay concert. It's impossible. Impossible. No, I'm not a paranormal investigator. I'm not an investigator of everything. I'm somebody who loves the experience. But what I really, really love is what Merle said. And I don't think there's enough concentration on it in the paranormal world, especially over here in North America, where there are all of these beautiful little towns in Canada, the United States, even over in the UK. Maybe not so much there because of the populace compared to land size. But there are these beautiful little towns out there, and they all have their own story. Whether it's a lake monster, a Sasquatch, a claim to history, a ghost town, and nobody has told their stories. So when I hear paranormal investigators talk about, oh, well, I'm going to go to Waverly Hills this weekend, who cares? 300,000 ghost hunters have gone there, right? What, are you going to be the first one who goes there and says, oh, it's not haunted, and because I didn't experience anything, there are no ghosts there? No.
Everyone else is fake. Yep, I'll be that guy. I will be that guy. No.
I want more people. If you're going to do this, whether you're an enthusiast or a hobbyist like me, or whether you are a big-time investigator like Merle, very few are challenging the field. Very few are challenging different locations. And I think that there is a lot of really cool towns and stories out there that need to be told. They may have been told once or twice, but they need to be told to get them out there, to show that it is a fabulous, fabulous phenomena out there that is just waiting for somebody like Merle or like Rebecca or like us at Spaced Out Radio to tell their stories. But instead, we got all of these people, well, we're going to go to the Gastown restaurant again tonight in Vancouver. We're going to Alcatraz, or we're going to Gettysburg. Right? Sorry. Not interested. Not interested. You bore me.
One thing I'm trying this year, especially, and I'm being very mindful of with investigating, is stick to the period you're investigating. If you're investigating people from the 1800s, the early 1900s, they're not gonna understand. Yo, bro, knock twice. If you're here, they don't understand our technology. They don't understand the way we talk now. So what I do now is I will try and figure out how they would have talked back then, and I will use the same sort of words, almost like trigger words to them.
All right, on that note, we got Merle for Ghosts of the Great White North, another half hour, along with Rebecca Struzina, the West London Witch. We'll be back with the final half hour with these fine people from Ghosts of the Great White North coming up after this. All right, we're clear. You guys chat away. I'll be right back.
We were talking about that the other day, weren't we? About how, like, I never understand when people are in Italian castles speaking English, expecting a response.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. We were at I can't say the name of the location where we were at one of them, because the people doesn't want us to say it, but they had German people pass away there, and like from Germany, that's what they spoke. And my girlfriend is from Germany, and that's what she speaks. So we did an entire session in just German.
Well, that makes sense, because if I was haunting this house and you spoke to me in French, I wouldn't have any idea what you were talking about. So, but when you see all these big, documentaries on TV and whatnot, and they go to somewhere that's not even necessarily somewhere where they speak a different language, but you're absolutely right. They're using terminology that's just so outside of the stretch of imagination, or like, use this flashlight. It's like, these people have never seen a flashlight before. How would they know how to use it? So yeah, I think you're so right about being mindful about that.
Yeah, and I feel I've been getting decent results with it. Flashlight, you would call it a torch, because that's probably what they used back then, or fire. And you just give them instructions as to what it is, and it seems to work. But I have a couple, like I was saying earlier, old ghost towns where there's cowboy days, and I'm trying to figure out, because I know they're a lot more gruff back then, and I'm just trying to. I guess I can't watch Hollywood movies like Deadwood because it's probably still the wrong terminology of how to talk. So I've been reading a lot of books talking.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. Welcome to another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper-gig speeds. Say hello to the Walkers, a family of not one but 4 Gagillionaires, each living up their Gagillionaire life at ludicrous internet speed. First up, Anna Walker. She dominates streaming like the matriarch she is. No show ever goes unwatched under her watch.
Next episode.
Next up, Peter Walker. There's no stopping this dad bod from showing up to his virtual workout sessions.
Let's go leg day.
And finally, the Walker twins. They may look alike but couldn't internet more differently. Harry dominates his fellow online gamers while Heather group video chats with friends.
Ooh, nice background filter, Jess.
Live like a Gagillionaire. Get internet that upgrades everything. AT&T Fiber, now with speeds up to 5 gigs.
Limited availability in select areas. Speeds not guaranteed. Single device wired speed max 4.7 gig per second. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
Spring deals are at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Get 40% off select bikes for the family. Buy a reel, get 30% off a fishing rod. And buy one, get one 50% off Magellan Outdoors Performance Cruise. Visit your store or academy.com. Ends March 20th. Exclusions and restrictions apply. See academy.com/disclaimers.
Talking to like a lot of locals and just digging into history. Because you'll hear people, like, they'll quote people from the old days and stuff like that. And it kind of paints you a picture of what to expect instead of like, bro, come at me, and whatever else they say on the TV shows.
Gosh, I haven't watched a ghost hunting TV show in a long minute. There's a really famous one out here called Most Haunted. Have you seen this?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. There was a dark part of lockdown where we watched an awful, awful lot of Most Haunted. But they're so formulaic. And I'm always so impressed that they get so many results. Because you know what it's like. Not every investigation yields results.
Yeah, they don't. It's like sometimes you'll go on an investigation and you won't get nothing. And that's why I really preach on like para-unity. For example, say you have a team, Dave has a team, and I have a team. Your team goes in, they don't want to talk to you. They're the spirits. Dave goes in, he gets a few words. I go in, I get a couple words. And then the 3 of us meet together and we discuss the location. Now, the words that I got and my EVPs and the ones Dave got, it's the same voice. So, I don't know why I totally regressed into what we were talking about. Where I was getting at with that was, I'm just highlighting with what were we just talking about?
Just about, sometimes you don't get...
Oh, yes.
You don't get results every single time.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Sometimes people investigate places for, 4 hours and nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to ask for things to happen in 4 hours you're there.
It's like fishing. Like sometimes you'll go fishing for like 8 hours and you don't catch a thing, no bite. That's kind of that analogy I was getting at with us. That each of us having our own different team. You get something, I get something, Dave gets nothing, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. You see these shows that are 43 minutes. They've investigated for 3 days straight. And then they condense the little scares that they had into the little episode with some really cool B-roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old B-roll.
Love a good B-roll.
Oh, sun's starting to come up here.
What's that?
The sun's starting to come up here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's kind of poking through the trees. It's quite sweet.
What's on your hat, Merle? A lot of people asking.
It's Blackbeard.
There you
That's all
go.
it is. Pirate symbol. It's an old pirate symbol.
There you go. We've got about 40 seconds. Big thank you to Liliopatra, Fabster, Manny, and Rob for the awesome super chats tonight. We very much appreciate it. And I know a bunch of you have been trying to get your gear at our store. Hopefully going to have that all fixed up within the next couple of days here. I don't know what the hell is going on there, but we'll get it all fixed. And, we got Merle and Rebecca till the top of the hour. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in. Yeah, we're having a good time tonight. Good time tonight. All right, let's rock it here in like 2 seconds.
It's flying by, this show.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Ghosts of the Great White North. We got Merle here. We got Rebecca Struzina, known as the West London Witch, all the way in the United Kingdom. And we are continuing Ghosts of the Great White North right here. Rebecca, I want to ask you right off the bat here, there is so much to do with the paranormal that, we think that, there's ghosts, there's entities, there's spirits, there's poltergeist activity. Is there a topic that you just will not get into because you just don't want to give it the energy?
Gosh, that's such a great question. No, I'm quite open to learn and explore all things. No, there hasn't been anything that I've shied away from or didn't want to know more about. I consider myself a lifetime learner, so I just kind of want to know all the things about all the things. So no, I haven't. That's a great question. So you can send me all your stories about anything, cryptids or UFOs or whatever. I'm up for it. I think that's fascinating. And that's the great thing about the paranormal. It's not just one thing or another. There's a a wide cornucopia of things to explore.
Do you have any ideas or thoughts about the fact that the phenomena may all be tied together? Ghosts, UFOs, consciousness, cryptids. I mean, this is a great debate. I know Merle, he's very much one who thinks that everything is segregated, but I have also talked to somebody the other day who is very influential in my life and very high up in the whole thing that's going on with UFOs within the United States government. And he was saying to me on the weekend that, pretty much we as humanity and everything on this planet is all part of the phenomena.
Well, I always say on the show that the podcast is about those moments where we feel like we're very much not alone. And I do believe that there is something greater than us. Whatever that means to you, whether that's a higher power or whatever, I do believe that there is something greater than us. And I don't pretend to know all of the ins and outs of the universe and all the intricacies of how things are woven together, but I wouldn't dismiss anyone's thoughts that they could all be, connected or that they could all be linked together. But I don't know. I do maybe think that there is a separation between like UFOs and the dead, because UFOs are still alive, if that makes sense. From what I understand, I don't know, maybe there's ghost ships out there. That would be super cool. But I do think there's something that happens when you die and your energy passes on to something else. I do think there is a divide there. So I don't know, but I do like to think, like, what if there's ghost Bigfoots hanging out around this universe or things like that? You get ghost dogs and ghost cats and things like that. Why can't you have ghost cryptids? I don't know. So maybe they are all interlinked. It's a wonderful philosophy to debate upon. What do you think?
Me, I think it's all tied together.
Yeah.
I think the phenomena is all tied together. And there is a number of investigators out there that are starting to look into this. I don't think the mainstream weekend warriors or those who have a particular love of a certain subject are interested in understanding that, which I think is absolutely fine. But I think that if you're actually out there trying to solve the mysteries of what is going on, I think that it is a very credible idea that the phenomena is all intertwined somehow. Merle?
I need more information. I need more information on it. I don't think it is. I think it's separate. I haven't heard much reasoning or evidence backing up how it would all be connected versus opinion or... Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's connected. Educate me if you feel I'm wrong. I'm all ears, and I will love to listen and debate with you about it too. I don't know. I don't think aliens and ghosts are connected. I don't know how they would be connected. So if somebody can fill me in on that, how they think it would be, that would be something I would listen to.
The great debate between Dave and Merle. It continues.
I'm right. You're wrong.
Yeah. Merle is like a Clydesdale horse where he wears the blinders on both sides while he's walking down the road, giving his stuff, listening to some disco, he's staying alive. I mean, at one point, we thought he was part of the Bee Gees, but, you never know. But the reason why I bring that up is because there's a lot of people out there who, they've had paranormal activity, and at the same time, they've had other things happen. This person who I talked to on the weekend, this tripped me out, and I'll fill you in on it. A lot of shadow people, this person claims, are actually remote viewers. So I'm not talking like when you see a full body shadow apparition standing there staring at you. But a lot of times where you see like a dark shadow cloud almost like in a corner or, in front of a couch or, beside a tree or something like that, there is the possibility that is actually a remote viewer looking in on what you are doing, because those who are practicing the phenomena are actually bringing in that type of energy. And when you get into that ethereal plane, you are actually putting like a Kmart blue light special light over your head saying, hey, phenomena, I'm here. I'm looking into this. Come check it out. And so that would attract an astral traveler / remote viewer to come see what you are working on.
I'm with you. I follow you on that. I see the logic and how people would come to that for sure. I definitely think that's a wonderful idea to look further into for sure. And I think you're absolutely right. Like we were talking about me living in this house. I do think people are beacons. I think some people just attract extra attention for whatever reason. So I don't not see the merit in that by any stretch of the imagination. I think that's a fascinating idea. Is the issue with everything that's paranormal though is it's so hard to test it in a clinical fashion where we can produce the same results over and over and over and over again in a really credible way. The science is just not there yet. Doesn't mean it won't be there, and doesn't mean that the evidence we have isn't credible. It just means that it's so hard to put a button on it. But I think in some ways that's really nice because it keeps us questioning, it keeps us investigating, it keeps us looking into it. And I think as long as our minds are open and we're open to the opportunity that, well, it could be a litany of different things, that makes it really exciting.
I think I hear what Dave is saying with that, and I think that maybe I don't know if I believe the whole connection thing, but I do believe an experiencer could be in tune or on the same wavelength, so to speak, as the different phenomena. If it's a ghost, a UFO, a Bigfoot, Wendigo, whatever. I feel if that person is susceptible to seeing it, experiencing it, or even communicating it, I think that's what would separate. That's how I deem it separate. I just think that people are able to be on a different length, so to speak.
Question coming in from Michael. What's your thoughts about the Mandela effect, Rebecca?
I, hand to God, remember things that people say are not right. So I definitely think there's something going on with that, because I can promise you that I look at those lists of things, whether they be commercials or images or whatever. And I swear that I remember it a way that it definitely wasn't. So who knows? I'm open to that. I am. What do you think, Merle?
I fully agree with you, and I feel that I've stumbled in my words a couple times tonight. So I feel I'm having effects of the Mandela effect tonight.
What do you think, Dave? Do you believe in the Mandela effect?
Yes. I don't know if there's an actual Mandela effect. I want to believe it's something that is one that I really, really want to believe. And there's two things that I show. I have a key right here that my camera never focuses in on it properly, but it has Ford written on it. And this key does not have the curlicue on the F. Yet Ford claims that curlicue has always been on their logo. That is one. Number two, and I've said this story many a time, this was one that's happened very personally to me, is I was going to, about 6-7 months ago, I went to interview David Weatherly, a good friend of Merle's and mine, and I was looking on Instagram to try and find a topic to talk to David about, and I saw this book cover come up with his name on it that read Sea Serpents of the Great Lakes. And so I called up David before the show. I said, hey, man, very excited to talk to you about your new book, Sea Serpents of the Great Lakes. I just saw the cover on, and it's a topic we really haven't done, but I've always wanted to do. I'm very excited about it. And he goes, yeah, man, that is a great topic, but we got a problem. And I said, what's that? He goes, I've never written that book.
Oh, wow.
And I went, what do you mean? I just saw it on your Erie Lights Instagram. And he's like, no, man, I've never written that book. I'm like, you're BSing me. And he's like, no. He goes, it's a great topic. He goes, that would be right up my alley to do, but I've never written it. And do you think I could find that post again? Not a hope. Not a hope.
Wow.
It was gone. It was gone.
And it's so specific. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
It's such a specific memory.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean...
No, I think there's something going on with that one. I do.
I'm not sure if it's a personal effect that affects everyone individually, or if it's effect of a lot of misremembering, or if it's an effect of everybody is moving on their own timeline. So even though we are, working together on the same timeline, we are still have individual timelines to follow. And I don't know. I really don't know. It still trips me out.
Do you think deja vu could be connected to it?
Maybe.
Maybe
that.
For me, it's mass misremembering. You know what I mean? It's like where thousands of people thought that Nelson Mandela had died, or thousands of people thought Fruit of the Loom looked different, or the Monopoly guy looked different. It's how is it that so many people misremembered? That's what I find so fascinating. Or is like Pikachu's tail and things like that. I'm super into this. This is a topic I'm totally fascinated by because there's so many of them that I have obviously misremembered. Or maybe it's the effect, who knows?
Or does our brain and eyes just show what we think it's going to be versus what it actually is?
Well, I mean,
could it be an illusion?
I mean, it does go to the point, okay, where it's that old elementary school test where the teacher tells the first child in line apples are red, and by the time it gets to the end of the line, the teacher was seen kissing the janitor while eating an apple. You know, I mean, it's just the way we are. Our minds are not perfect. But that being said, you know, we are also creatures of habit. We are creatures of gathering. And if we all of a sudden hear a bunch of people say, Luke, I am your father, which apparently never happened, right? It all of a sudden is like, yeah, I remember that. I totally remember that. You know, but there are some things that really, really mess with me regarding it. The size of Cuba. I always remember Cuba being this little island, you know, southeast of Florida. And now you look on a map, Cuba's huge. Huge.
Has that been misrepresented, though? Because there's that great episode of The West Wing where they show how the size of the U.S. compared to Africa, and everyone was like, minds were rocked. Is it that we came in, probably North Americans, and misrepresented other countries to make ourselves feel bigger? I don't know. Maybe there's some of that going on. I don't know.
That could be a whole show right there.
There we go. That's a whole new topic.
Yeah.
It is, you know. There's just so many of them that just make me question. It really makes me question. I'm not saying that I believe the Mandela effect is true. I'm not saying that it's false. I'm saying that there is some weird stuff happening out there that we need to investigate a little bit more rather than just writing it off as misremembering or writing it off as something that you may have forgotten or the main public who's looked into this has forgotten. You know, when you have personal experiences like I did with David Weatherly, I mean, that trips me out. My job is to find a topic to talk about with a guest each and every night. And when I see something new that a usual frequent guest like David is doing, I'm going to notice it right away. I'm going to check it on out. I'm going to get excited about talking about that topic that night. And then when it doesn't happen, because it doesn't exist, well, that may throw my mind for a little bit of a loop. I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I'm just taking all that in. That was kind of a deep last half hour.
It is, but there's a lot going on that we don't know. And that's what is, honestly, it's breaking my brain lately. It really is. And I'm kind of like weirded out in a good way by it. Weirded out in a good way. Like it.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. It's another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Meet Gagillionaire Terry. While his love of streaming horror movies has him constantly on the edge of his seat, his internet bill won't give him a scare.
Oh, don't go in there. I'm telling you.
Because since Terry upgraded to AT&T Fiber with hyper gig speeds, he doesn't worry about data caps or equipment fees.
Come on, man. The door's open for a reason.
And best yet, he also doesn't stress about a price increase at 12 months, because with the amazing Gagillionaire lifestyle comes an exquisite sense of tranquility. Most of the time. Live like a Gagillionaire. Get straightforward pricing with AT&T Fiber, internet that upgrades everything. No data caps, no equipment fees, and no price increase at 12 months.
Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
What's the big deal?
Where can you get pizza, bread twists, specialty chicken, and more for just $5.99 each?
Is it at Domino's?
He hands off hand-tossed pizza and a marble cookie brownie. He's going!
There's a lot of variety on the radio and at Domino's too, where you can
Mix and match 2 or more. $5.99 each at Domino's.
2-item minimum. Pan pizza, bone-in wings, and bread bowls will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary.
It's trippy when you think, are we all causing the phenomena?
Mass subjection, maybe.
Way ahead of just a regular ghost hunting stomp or a regular Sasquatch stomp. You know?
There could be more to it.
Well, there's also that idea that if a lot of people put their energy into something, it kind of manifests. There was that university that made up Philip, and they said that their lecture hall was haunted by Philip. And they all put all this energy into it, and they create all this lore and this backstory. And all of a sudden, they started having hauntings in the very unhaunted lecture hall. And it was Philip. He was the one who was doing the activity. So maybe there's that idea that if a lot of humans put a lot of energy into something, maybe it does manifest in some way.
But that's actually. I'll go ahead, Dave.
No, you go, Merle. You go.
I'll be quick. I was just going to say that's one thing that I've been trying to test with my investigations right now is dumbing down people's senses to see if these hauntings are mind over matter, like sensory deprivation, getting rid of your sight, getting rid of your hearing, getting rid of knowing what's in your atmosphere to see if we are creating the haunting or if the ghosts are actually there. And that's one thing I've been getting a lot of good results with that research is the mind is very powerful. Now, if you have a mass people saying that Dave's house is haunted, there's probably going to be something in there from the energy. But if you take away everyone's senses and try and have them call it as is, will it still be haunted? We don't know.
Well, we've got 3.5 minutes to figure it out. That's it.
Let's go.
Let's do it. I mean,
got this.
You know what? What it is I think the phenomena is always expansive and ever expanding, and it's ever changing. I mean, the fact that, like you brought up a great example, Rebecca, and I could go another hour on this for sure, regarding the Philip experiment. Okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, how do we as humans have the collective consciousness to literally create a ghost that is now causing hauntings? I mean, it's not just that, but what about people who claim they have the ability to summon UFOs or to summon in cryptids, talk telepathically with them, right? How do we know that all these people that we say are full of crap who are channeling extraterrestrials from Zeta Reticuli or the Pleiades, how do we know that they're really not connected and that, you know, just because we want to believe, because today's society believes that it is actual, you know, psychosis rather than psychic, right? This is the stuff that keeps me up at night. Old Davey got deep there, really, really deep.
And that's why I've been playing really hard with sensory deprivation to try and take away that piece of the puzzle to see if we can get to the raw effect of a haunting, or even you can even try it with cryptids and aliens. If people say they can call in aliens, take away their sensory and see if they can do it. See if it's their mind or, I don't know. There's so many questions. So many questions.
Very true. All right, it's that time of the night where we have to prepare to say good night. Rebecca, do us a favor. Tell my audience where they can find your podcast, The West London Witch.
You can find The West London Witch wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen, we are there. And if you want to come and interact with us or have some chats with us, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at The West London Witch. And if you have a story that you would like to share, I would love to hear it. as I said, you can hit us up on Instagram or Facebook, or you can send me an email at thewestlondonwitch@gmail.com.
Perfect. And Merle, where can everybody find your work?
You can find my work Instagram, The Paranormal Road Trippers, or YouTube, The Paranormal Road Trippers. Or you can find Dave and I's work at Canada's Great Unknown on YouTube.
That's right.
Oh, and we didn't even tell them, Merle, you're going to be on the West London Witch in a few weeks' time. So
I am. Do you want to tell them what it's
that.
about? Tell them what it's about.
It's about haunted objects, about haunted dolls in particular. Yep. So you're going to want to tune in for that one. It's going to be really good.
When you get an opportunity, you are going to want to interview Merle about his haunted underwear collection.
Oh, gross.
It's next on the list.
It should be. It's totally...
Season finale.
Season finale. You know, Merle and his haunted underwear collection. It is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but Merle, always a good time, buddy. Appreciate you coming on in. Lordy, Merle is now 40. And Rebecca Struzina, I butchered your name right at the last. Struzina, sorry.
Done so well, Struzina.
Yeah.
You've done so well.
You know, I was doing great right up until the end here. I'll just, Rebecca, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Very much appreciate you. Rebecca Struzina, the West London Witch. Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers. This has been Ghost of the Great White North. Hey, stay tuned. Hour 3. We're heading into the swamp tonight with our legendary Swamp Dweller. I swear to God, I can't fucking talk tonight. Oh, I'm so pissed off tonight.
We're off air, aren't we?
Yeah, well, we're still on YouTube, but
okay.
I am pissed right off right now.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
What flavor, Dave? What flavor?
Pineapple.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a good show. I went fast. I went really fast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's been great. Absolutely great. But, yeah, I'm all good to go here. Holy cow. I've actually been working here. This is kind of cool. And, yeah, good times. Good times tonight.
I enjoyed it.
Good times tonight. All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. Rebecca, you can go get some sleep. And
I'm waking up now. I'm like ready to go.
Oh, well, then
I'll send you
some EVPs. Great way to start my day.
Yep.
Send me some EVPs. I'm working on your episode right now. So
sounds good.
Yes. Excited for it.
All right, guys. Take care. Merle, I'll call you tomorrow.
Right. Sounds good.
Bye.
See you later, guys.
Later.
Ciao.
All right. There we go. We're getting ready for hour 3 next. Sometimes it's not pretty, and sometimes you're battling through a show. And I apologize. They didn't get my best tonight. I'm pretty angry about it. But it happens. It happens. It happens. It happens. That's what I try and tell myself. Now they can't all be gems. Ow. They can't all be gems. Shit happens. That's right, Jeremy Jones. Got the news ready. Maybe I won't forget my intro this time. Sounding amateur and talking over it. We'll see what happens here. All right. That's all ready. Hello, gorgeous Gloria. Hi, Seagull says. No, guys, it's nobody. It's just me. It's just me. I expect a lot better out of myself. And tonight I am terrible. Terrible. It happens. All right. We got about 90 seconds here. Moon Freedom, how are you? Welcome. I would contact Merle about that. Mark D., what's going on?
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much for tuning us on in, wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Omnixley. Omnixley is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's News Wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You know, normally I have Swamp Dweller already up here, and I forgot to load it up. So let me just quickly take the time to do that, because I just noticed this. And then we'll play the intro, and we'll get it all going, and then we'll make it happen. How about that? We'll just make it easy. Just like that. Sometimes we can do these things in just seconds.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I was at a summer camp for 8 days, but I only spent 6 days at the camp as it was a day's drive up and back. The first few days were normal enough, but it was the night of the third day when I couldn't sleep on account of the awful tents, which hardly closed and seemed to be infested with insects and arachnids of every kind. So I was awake for most of the night listening to the sounds of the Tennessee woods, until I noticed some peculiar noises, which didn't seem normal. I first noticed strange noises at around 1 a.m., 1 hour after lights out. First, it sounded like footsteps, but as time went on, I started to hear what sounded like whispering. I couldn't make out what it was saying at first because it was barely audible. I was pretty shaken up, but eventually the noises quieted down and I fell asleep. The next morning I told Steve about it, and we both shrugged it off. Although at this point I wasn't sure I had been dreaming. I forgot about it into that next night shortly before lights out when I remembered and told Brian, X, and Pete. Even though I was dreading it, of course, I would have to go to sleep eventually. When I went into my tent, I unsurprisingly could not sleep because of the noises. I couldn't sleep because I had what seemed like 6 billion bugs in my tent. At about 12:30 to 1 a.m., the noises started up again. This time louder and more intense. The noises started with footsteps again, but the footsteps quickly evolved into voices. Not whispers, but full-volume talking and possibly even yelling at one point. Then the sounds morphed into chirping and squeaking. At one point I even heard what sounded like a medieval battle horn, like the Narnia movies. Eventually I grew tired of cowering in my tent and decided to check out the noises. I walked down to the bathrooms, which were about 200 feet away, and down a hill from my tent. When I got to the bathroom, I realized that the squeaking noises seemed to be coming from a leaky old hose, which was a huge relief. I relieved myself and went back to my tent. I lay down, and it appeared the noises had stopped, but of course, that was only temporary. When the noises started up again, I called out in a slightly hushed tone, thinking it was somebody playing a prank. It was about 2:30 to 3 a.m. at this point, and my friend Pete responded to my call and came over to my tent. Pete said that he had been up for a while because of the bugs in his tent when he noticed the noises too. He said that he had been up for about 30 minutes when he heard me and came over to my tent. Pete and I hung out in Steve and I's tent for a while. Steve slept through the entire night, even with Pete and I trying to wake him up. While we were in the tent, the noises would stop and start repeatedly, alternating every 10 minutes. While Pete and I were in my tent with Steve sleeping next to us in the tent, we noticed that the footsteps were getting increasingly closer and louder. The footsteps were so much that it sounded like they were right outside the tent. We figured it was another kid in a nearby tent named Edwin sleeping. He did have a sleepwalking problem. We called out to Edwin asking if he was all right, and there was no answer. We shrugged it off and continued talking. Actually, Pete got tired and returned to his tent at about 4 a.m. At this point, I decided I would try to get some rest too. I had been laying down for somewhere around 10 minutes when the noises started up once again, and I realized I would not be getting any sleep that night, and decided to walk around the camp and try to find the source of these noises. I did not find anything, however. I did walk by Brian and X's tent. I decided to see if they were awake by whispering into their tent. Brian was awake, but X was not. I asked Brian if he heard the noises, and he said he did. Brian had said he was listening to the noises for about an hour and a half when I came over. I told Brian to keep his ears open for any more weird noises and went back to my tent. About 20 minutes later, I hear the noises start up again. I decided to wait for a few minutes to see if the noises would stop. The noises did not stop. I decided to go check around the campsite one more time. This time, though, I went to Brian and X's tent first to recruit them to help me check. When I got over there to the tent, both Brian and X were awake. It was almost 6 a.m. now, so X and Brian came out of their tent and walked around with me. We had checked the entire campsite, and were about to return to our tents. We happened to be walking by the edge of a huge rectangular clearing behind our campsite when we saw a strange animal at the other end of it. It was probably no more than 200 feet away. The thing looked like it was prone. It was completely still, just watching us. We didn't know what it was, so we started walking toward it. When it realized we were coming toward it, it got up. And this is when we realized that what we were looking at was no ordinary animal. The thing was about 3'6" and humanoid, with a hunched over posture and huge glowing orange eyes the size of tennis balls. It appeared to be pushed into its torso, having an appearance like that of some depictions of the Mothman. When it got up, it started hobbling away towards a large ditch. That's when I noticed some very interesting looking wings. As we got closer, it became more frantic and started to move faster. But by the time we got there, it was gone, and the ditch was empty. We checked the area, and there was nothing. We found nothing of importance. Though, in somewhat of a hilarious turn, we did find an empty bag of Planters peanuts about 10 feet away from where the creature had been.
Planters peanuts. That is the cryptid dietary substance of any jungle in North America. All right, it is time to say thank you to Swamp Dweller for an amazing story to share with us here on Spaced Out Radio. And of course, we encourage everybody to go hit subscribe on his channel. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. Let's get to the UFO report. There he is, the man, the myth, and the legend, all rolled into one, the fedora-wearing John Hudson, and the unbiased UFO report. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Dave. Good to see you.
I am having just a night, man, where I'm fighting everything that's coming out of my mouth tonight. Every word, and just nothing is smooth. Nothing is smooth. No. See, this is what people don't see in radio. They don't see the struggles. You know, that sometimes the mind and the mouth just do not work together.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. Welcome to another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Say hello to the Walkers, a family of not one but 4 Gagillionaires, each living up their Gagillionaire life at ludicrous internet speed. First up, Anna Walker. She dominates streaming like the matriarch she is. No show ever goes unwatched under her watch.
Next episode.
Next up, Peter Walker. There's no stopping this dad bod from showing up to his virtual workout sessions.
Let's go, leg day!
And finally, the Walker twins. They may look alike but couldn't internet more differently. Harry dominates his fellow online gamers while Heather group video chats with friends.
Ooh, nice background filter, Jess.
Live like a Gagillionaire. Get internet that upgrades everything. AT&T Fiber, now with speeds up to 5 gigs.
Limited availability in select areas. Speeds not guaranteed. Single device wired speed. Max 4.7 gig per second. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Together. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It is.
This is true. This is very, very true. And often I think the mouth laughs about the whole thing.
That's a bad pun right there, John.
No, I'm not kidding. I actually wasn't kidding. I actually, believe it or not, that was an unintentional pun. And I'm probably one of the few people who actually do that because of my lack of awareness of such things.
Well, we're going to start off here with a little bit of sad news in the UFO report, because I found out about this right before the show. And I sent you the information. I know you're not that familiar with it, so I'll kind of take this from here. John Edmonds, former guest on this show, and I did not know this. He is mainly known for owning the Stardust Ranch in Arizona, where it's alleged that he hacked up a couple of alien greys with a ninja sword. Well, found out he passed away February 27th. Now, I don't know what the cause was, okay, but I do know that there is a celebration of life coming up on April 28th, which would have been John's birthday, his 64th birthday, or 63rd birthday, pardon me. And this is a weird one because it didn't seem like too many people within the UFO community actually knew this. And he was a podcast host. He was somebody who had been on numerous documentaries, claiming that there was aliens coming to get him at all times. Some were good, where they would sit down and have a meal at the kitchen table with him, and others that weren't so good, then he would have to bring out the old ninja sword and start doing his best chopping right there. Famous words from John. You got to take him off at the head. You just have to. That way, the Greys, they can't vanish. They just sit there. Allegedly, he had sent a body to a university, but somehow it just didn't make it. Now, he had a lot of critics saying that he was making up a lot of these stories for a little bit of publicity. He had his Stardust Ranch on the market for quite a while. There was never made any mention whether or not he actually sold it. But he passed away. So, it's going to be very, very interesting. I know this has caught a lot of people off guard. It really has. Like, even, when you click on his, memorial page, there's a lot of people on there who were like, I didn't even know he had passed away. Didn't even know. But apparently he's gone. Had a good handlebar mustache. Nice man. Very nice man.
And quite honestly, in my final days, I probably would want to vanish from the scene a little bit and just spend more time with my family and my thoughts and so forth. So it was a good chance it was his choice to be in that state and so forth.
No, we totally get it. Totally get it. But, I don't know, man. This one just seemed to slip through our fingers. Slipped through our fingers. And it happens. It happens. But God bless him. God bless him. Maybe he get to bring his sword to the other side, too.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Definitely have to have a piece string around the hilt.
True. Very true. All right. Let us move on to our big stories of the night with the fedora-wearing John Hudson. Apparently, there was a video from 1979 that caught a Tic Tac.
So this is really cool. So this is from June 18th, 1979. A military pilot whose name I'm going to annihilate, Giancarlo Cinero. I do apologize, sir.
Giancarlo.
Say again?
Giancarlo?
Giancarlo? Okay, that one I'm good. What about the last name?
Let me find it here. Hold on.
It's C-E-C-C-O-N-I.
Oh, that's Giancarlo. So you gotta be in sports, man, to get names like that. That's Giancarlo.
Oh,
it looks like Ciccone.
Oh, I never thought of that, dude. That must have been a nightmare.
Giancarlo
names in
Ciccone.
Sports and hockey. Woohoo, boy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for you from now on. Anyway,
I'll pat myself on the back for that one.
Yeah, no, you should. So he went to Treviso Air Force Base, Italy, in his his G91R fighter and his GR1R14 group of the 2nd Air Force Fighter Regiment, completing a reconnaissance mission. Suddenly, the radar center TV recorded the presence of an unauthorized intruder on the radar screens, and it instructed him to approach the unidentified aircraft that had entered the restricted area. Luckily, he had a camera on the plane with him with unused film, and when he began to fly up to the unidentified object, he turned on his camera. He approached the UFO from a distance of about 70 to 80 meters at about a speed of about 300 knots, or roughly 400 to 500 kilometers. And essentially, this what was published is a still photo from that film that has been cleaned up and the film has been restored and so forth. And man, I've never seen a Tic Tac myself, but I gotta say, this looks like it could be certainly in the family.
Really? Do you think it's real?
This one, yeah, actually, the thing is it for this? I don't know. For me, like, I would really need to see the film to offer any kind of really confident opinion. But just an initial pass of it, let me put it this way: I would be surprised if this is completely fabricated. Now, that doesn't mean that what was photographed was really, from another planet. But I do believe that something was, there's every indication that there was actually an object recorded on film.
Okay, so how did this video get out there? Do we know?
Well, essentially, my understanding is that it wasn't going to, and essentially, if I'm trying to remember correctly, and I'm looking it up right now, I think, as is usual, I think someone had to pass away. If I'm remembering correctly, let's see here. Nope. Oh, that's interesting though. It left a blue trail. That's fascinating. Huh.
So diesel engine.
Definitely read the article because it includes a lot more data, like the fact that he actually got 82 frames of the 82 frames of film with the object on the film. That's pretty damn impressive. What I find especially curious is that if he's got that much film and that looks that good, like who? It's not clear who's been sitting on it. You know what? We'll have to follow up on that because it's actually not. It doesn't appear to be covered in the article, which is an awfully odd thing to leave out. Because without any kind of chain of authority, what use is it really? Although I guess they do have the authentication of the pilots that were involved, but yeah, I mean this is. But see, to me, this speaks once again to what has been bugging me now for a couple months, and that is that I keep thinking that there's some silver bullet event that's going to happen that's going to make everyone wake up, and then you start realizing that in the past there have not just been like one or two silver bullets; there's been like a whole magazine full of silver bullets, and each time these amazing things have happened, and nothing's changed. So I'm no longer convinced that there's any event that can happen that will do it. Because, I mean, if you look at some of these events, I mean, think about the stuff over Washington, the Phoenix Lights. I mean, the list goes on and on where it's like, whoa, like, how did the world not wake up to that? They don't want to.
One of the things for me, man, when it comes to this is why are we focusing now on just the Tic Tacs? Is it just because it's the popular UFO du jour? I mean, can we not get back to flying pie plates of Billy Meyer and cigar shape?
Well, the thing is though, Dave, is it? I do think it's very interesting that if you look at the way the Elizondo kind of group has kind of carved off the portion of the phenomenon that they seem to be focused on, right? And if you look at that. And then you look at what's left, and then you start looking at the different deltas that exist between the two. What I'm almost beginning to gather is that essentially the side that they're more focused on is the orb-derived stuff that seems to be more related to Tic Tacs and so forth. In that essentially, I mean, it's been, I mean, I don't have any way of confirming what I'm about to say, but that's essentially what I've been told. And so to me, it almost seems like there is kind of this focus on perhaps a subset, and why that is, who knows? But the thing is that, and I think this is one of the biggest challenges to this whole topic, is that, we spend all this time debating whether it's real or this is real or that. But once you've actually determined that there might actually be contact, you cannot assume that it's one party, right? That's kind of crazy. It's got to be multiple parties, and multiple parties over the decades, right? So, and the chances they're coordinated, maybe a couple of them are, but chances are good some of them were competing with each other, right? Some of them didn't even know each other were here. And so who knows what kind of a mess they could have created.
Oh, I understand. But, it's just amazing that after all this time, 1979, Tic Tac video comes on out.
I know.
Very, very
just shows.
weird. Very, very weird.
Your position on this it appears to be far more optional than I thought.
Well, what am I supposed to do, man? What am I supposed to do?
I know.
I'm just one guy. Just one guy.
You're just one guy.
All right, 2 minutes to go here. Let's flip topics. Much to do happening in Brazil. Always weird stuff, man, happening in Brazil when it comes to aliens and UFOs.
You ever been to South America, Dave?
Never.
Oh man, I've only been to oh man, I can't forget the name of the city I was in. I've only been to one place, but and I've been to Mexico, but beautiful country, like amazing place. I highly recommend several places you should visit. But yes, Brazil is basically the tweet that came out is cool. It says, "Silence that precedes the storm," and the Brazilian storm is coming. Soon, important politicians and scientists in Brazil will be briefed about UAP, and we hope to start a new revolution in this topic. Please pray for our success. And this was followed by about 3 or 4 more messages that gave a few more details about what they're planning on doing. And he basically immediately pushed back a little bit and said, "Look, I recognize a lot of you people are going to want to talk to us and look at we're doing our best to get he was already kind of pushing back a little bit on the attention he's getting, whether that was preemptive or not, I don't know, but I mean, honestly, this is something that I very secretly wish for, that I don't want to admit I wish for, but I do, and that is that you're going to get some other country that just happens to have the right combination of government design and government habitation, like who's actually in the government at the time, that right combination where they can do something really dramatic. And I hope, but I don't know. It's hard to be optimistic.
Well, you know what? We're going to carry this over here when we come back from the break at the bottom of the hour, because Brazil is a very, very interesting conversation, man. And it seems like there's a lot happening in Brazil, whether it's ET contact, whether it's folklore, like there are landing bases of aliens and towns being attacked by dog-faced extraterrestrials and UFOs all over the place. It really, really is going on. Is it happening? Is it truthful? I know the fedora-wearing John Hudson, he loves his science, he loves proof. But this is all about the woo here. The fedora-wearing John Hudson, the unbiased UFO report, continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. So stay tuned. We're going to take this home. All right, we're clear, buddy.
Cool. Isn't it sad? I couldn't remember what country I'd been to in South America. Some problems when you travel a lot for work is it all blends together. I used to wake up in hotel rooms, and I wouldn't know what country I was in. It was really funny. It's a very odd experience.
Very cool.
And the problem is that all the ceilings look the same,
Really?
So, like, it doesn't help to look at this. Well, I mean, there's just not a lot of difference, right? I mean, like a Hilton ceiling in Taipei doesn't look any different than a Hilton ceiling. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no like specific, unique thing that really draws your attention to what country you're in. Sometimes the language that comes out of the alarm clock helps. Sometimes not, though. Sometimes they're nice and they do it in English, and then it doesn't help because you don't have any idea.
Very cool. Debating whether I'm hungry.
If you're debating it, then you're probably at an optional stage.
An optional stage.
I'm
at an optional stage.
Yeah. That means that you can choose to give in, or you can choose to preempt it with a snack, or you can choose to bite your tongue and try to bear through it and enjoy the feeling of emptiness.
No, not that guy. Not that guy.
No? I didn't used to be, but I that's one thing I did finally learn how to do in the last couple of years. Is I learned to enjoy the kind of the feeling that like fasting creates, in your body, like that feeling of just being really empty and just being really just being really. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's a weird feeling, but there is value to it. I get why people do it now. I wouldn't do it all the time. I'm just saying I finally actually understand a little bit why people do it.
Yeah, I don't like fasting. I prefer eating. Not gonna lie.
Well, what's funny is I've never been a big fan of it, like just in practice. But what I discover is that when I have complete control over my schedule, I actually end up doing it like all the time without even thinking about it. Like I will slip into these modes where I just eat like twice a day. And I don't eat anything any other time, and so I'll go long periods of time without eating, and I just kind of fall into it naturally. It's a weird experience. Like I'll have breakfast and I'll have dinner, and that's it.
All right. Let's. Next one is.
And there's some value to fasting.
There is,
but I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it unless it's something you really want to do. Not easy.
No. Dave doesn't fast. He just doesn't fast. Mennonite Abe. We got to come up with a song for Mennonite Abe. We really do. I don't know which ones, but we'll figure it out.
Oh, just as a side note for the crowd, the guy that posted about the Brazil thing posted later that he's leading a parallel initiative focused to brief scientists, mainly focused on Brazilian physicists at the PhD level, and he's planning on doing it in the next 1 to 2 months. So I guess that'll kind of be a follow-up to what this is that's more specifically geared just to physicists.
Very cool. Nice shirt.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, thanks. My wife got it for me for Christmas.
Never go wrong with a little Millennium Falcon.
Oh, hell no, man. Love those movies.
Mm-hmm. We got like 40 seconds. Big thank you to Nicholas, Rob, Manny, Fabster, and Liliopatra for the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate you. Very much. Thank you very much. Thank you to all our new subscribers who've tuned on in. We've had over 350 new subscribers alone since March 1st. That's friggin' cool. It's friggin' cool. It's very cool. All right, like 10 seconds, dude.
Very cool.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you, if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the unbiased UFO report. The fedora-wearing John Hudson is back, And we're going to head over to the Pentagon, where the AOI MSG, where if you head to our store, we have SOR MSG shirts available. I still love that one, SOR MSG. I think it's great. I do.
I do too.
Well, they got some money.
I do too.
They got some money coming along, John.
Yes. Well, I mean, we don't know exactly. So this is essentially the point in the process where things happen, right? So this is the point where the bulk money for the bill has been approved. Okay, so the actual dollar amount that they asked for the entire bill has been approved. Now,
The world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
When you cut lawns for a living, reliability matters. The Kubota commercial lineup, with purpose-built mowers like the Z700 zero-turn, SZ stand-on, and W-Series walk-behind, decrease downtime and increase productivity. A comprehensive fleet program with special discounts and free loaners helps grow your business one perfectly manicured lawn at a time. Visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Lee Tractor Company of Mississippi. Mississippi's elite Kubota dealer. On the web at leetractor.net.
Now what happens is they go back to the negotiating table within all the people that are impacted by the bill, hopefully, probably more likely just a few people that wrote the bill to get to control everything, and then they will decide basically how to divvy up all that money. And that is where the fight begins, where they will essentially, people have to kind of, I mean, I don't know if they have to, but I'm assuming they can, if they choose to, plead their case. I've never actually been part of that whole process, so I don't know exactly how it works. But my assumption is that you can essentially, plead your case for it. But, until we know exactly, as we heard before with, I forget which program it was, if it was ATIP, I think it was ATIP. It was one of the programs where essentially they had funding secured and a different program took their funding for over a 1 quarter period, right? That kind of stuff does happen. So, we do have to be mindful that this doesn't guarantee they get funded, but it's as close to it as we've gotten so far, without a doubt.
Well, that's very cool. Okay, so this is a project that was signed, this omnibus bill that was signed in, including $782 billion for defense. Holy cow, that is more than most countries' GDP.
Yes.
But
and what's really funny about it, Dave, is that if you think about it, like, in theory, that all comes from tax money, and all that stuff has to be bought from American companies in America. All the money goes back into American companies, which then pay Americans, which then pay taxes, which it's kind of like money laundering in a way, in a bizarre sort of natural, perfectly legal way.
Well, very true, but do we know how much of that money is going to be put towards UFO study?
Sadly, no. I mean, we do have some comments. One, and this was all gathered by Christopher Sharp over at Liberty Times. So thank you again, Christopher. Basically, one DoD source stated, "We are finally at the point where the future of the AOI MSG, I got to practice that, is forced to be determined." So basically saying what I just said, although more succinctly than I did. Congressman Tim Burchett stated, "I would not be surprised if the Pentagon's upcoming report shows its investigation is behind schedule." So you already have people kind of taking a rub at it, which actually that's a good sign. That's a healthy, politics thing. And statements were, it's becoming increasingly apparent that UAP may not originate from Russia or China, and suggested within the UAP, as suggested within the UAP preliminary assessment of June 2021. In February 2022, the Washington Post reported that a Russian drone shot down by the Ukrainian forces was a compromise of technology manufactured. And so that's just showing the example that there have been cases where these drones, have been misidentified, and one was proved not to be. So that's a good thing. It goes on to say that President Joe Biden has signed the omnibus bill that funds federal spending for the rest of the current fiscal year, which encompasses money set aside for the new UAP office. And Senator Gillibrand basically, well, actually, hold on. What say here? They got so there were a few comments made by other people, and essentially, Mark Warner, Mark Rubio, Senator Kristen Gillibrand, basically all were in support of this, and this is, my guess is that they will have three goals as far as budget's concerned. They will have what can they live on, what could they do some good on, and what do they need to really excel on. And my guess is they will go for A, and they'll get probably B. They're going to get something, but exactly how clean it is and how well situated it is, unfortunately, we do just have to wait and see what happens.
Well, you know what? We do have to wait. But here's the big thing, all right, that I think a lot of people are expecting, even people like Congressman Tim Burchett. I think they are waiting for some sort of open transparency report on what is going down with UAP. Now, obviously, being a congressman, he's going to get more information than you and me and Joe Public, okay? But I don't think that, that the public who was supporting this is going to get what they want. I think there's going to be a lot of cover-up with this. We're going to get a lot of hot air balloons. We're going to get a lot of swamp gas. We're not going to get to the juice that we want. I mean, look, just in the previous few weeks, John, there was talk about the fact that they were not going to be releasing any more videos. They didn't deem it worthy for public consumption, the way that the 3 videos came out. So apparently we're not, as a public, mature enough to see what the United States military and the Pentagon and all of their cronies are seeing.
You have no need to know. Actually, the problem, Dave, is it's all you foreigners. See, if they could really just show it to only Americans on the internet, then we could probably show it more people. But we can't control who comes in. Like, there's all sorts of crazy people on the internet. It's very scary.
I'm hoping you're sarcastic with that. I really am. We are, but I guess what I'm saying, John, is, and we could discuss and debate this if you want, because we got a lot of time. All right, I think people better be prepared to be very disappointed by the AOI MSG.
Yes,
very disappointed.
No. Yes, no. You are. Look, I mean, look, they are going to fight to achieve whatever they can. A bunch of people are going to come down and push them down as low as they can get them to so they can do the least good possible. I mean, there's going to be fights. It's going to get ugly. Yes, I mean, basically what it comes down to is if you have any expectations, you are going to be disappointed. So just don't expect anything. And you will see there will be some good that comes from it. What that is, I couldn't be the first person to tell you. I really think that in many ways you almost just have to look at this whole process as all leading to one single thermometer that's basically measuring how much of the population is ready to accept this, and they just keep letting out flows of information and then checking the thermometer. No, it's not done yet, and then letting out more information because it's weird the way it happens.
No, it is very weird on what is happening. But, I mean, there is a bunch of people, including when this bill was first proposed by the Pentagon as a solution to solving the UAPTF group, which was a much better acronym, all right, than ASIOMG. Okay? Is that it? Yeah, MSG. AOI MSG.
AOI MSG.
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing. The UAP task force, one of their goals, if we listen to people like Marco Rubio and Burchett and everybody at the beginning, was transparency. It was transparency on this topic as long as it did not affect national security. We're supposed to be transparent on this topic. AOI MSG did not want that in coming from the military and the Pentagon. They want to put everything back under the rug, like we're going to party like it's 1949 once again, and just shut up about this subject. Let the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists get back to what they are best at doing, and that is talk and woo. That's what they wanted. They want to say goodbye to Elizondo. They want to say goodbye to Sean Cahill. They want to say goodbye to Chris Mellon. That's the reality of what we're seeing here. And a lot of people may not like it, but that's the truth. That is why, whether you like Elizondo or not, or Mellon or Cahill or any of the sorts, even Ryan Graves, the former fighter pilot, they need to be able to use their insider sources to keep the pressure on. Now, the flip side to this is what we were talking about the last 24 hours, and what we even talked a little bit about with Merle and Rebecca earlier tonight, which is this. What if the phenomena is so scary that they feel the American public, therefore the world public, is not ready for what the phenomena is really about?
I don't think that and what you said before about the phenomenon being about all of us can also be, I don't think those two things can be true at the same time.
Well, that's fine.
How could it be?
How could it be? I don't know. It's not my job to know. My job is to pass on information.
Fair enough. No, totally. No, totally.
And when I have somebody high up giving me that information, who's more in the know than any of us ever will be, I'm going to trust it.
Yeah, part of the big question is that the like, what is the mandate of this organization? And part of one of my concerns is that this is being set up as what I understand is a permanent office, and maybe I think of organizing groups too logically for government, but to my mind, permanent offices would be created to manage permanent issues, and temporary offices would be created so if the goal is for them to go answer one question, this probably isn't the setup for that, right? This seems to be an organization designed to maintain something. And, I don't know if the goals of that maintenance is necessarily in line with your goals. Or anyone else's for that matter.
But
I'm not really sure exactly. I mean, do we know, for example, and maybe we do, and maybe just it was more clear to someone else when they read it than it was to me. But but to me, there doesn't seem to be well, I guess there was in a way. I was just thinking. To me, it doesn't seem like there's an easy way to end it where they are able to come to some conclusion. Not saying that's likely, but I'm just saying that kind of implies that this is set up as a care and feeding sort of situation. But I mean, I would argue that what was said, what you relayed before about it being about all of us, is probably one of the hardest things for anyone to swallow. It is probably the most, probably one of the more honest things that I've heard. In that, there's ample evidence of the amount of the phenomenon that seems to be affected by individuals. You even take, I wish I could find it, man. There was this amazing guy that, he was on Coast to Coast, and he was a police detective up in Canada, and he worked for a large group, and I remember, I think it was in British Columbia or something like that, but he worked for a pretty large police force. And basically what he said was that poltergeists were a tax burden on the people, because when poltergeist would happen, they would call the police. The police would investigate. It would happen for 2 weeks, and then it would fall back down again, and it would happen over and over again. And there would never be any physical appearance of anything. It would just be like things moving and so forth. And so he came to the same conclusion a lot of other people have come to, which is that poltergeist activity is usually centered on one of the children in the house. And I mean, we've seen multiple people with that hypothesis. We've seen interesting evidence for it. And I would argue that essentially if the hitchhiker effect seems to be tied to an individual, if we see the hitchhiker effect when people claim to see cryptids as well as when people see other things, if we see poltergeist activity that is causing a burden to the police force because of adolescents who are upset, and they see dealing with it in that context to be the better way of dealing with it. I think that unfortunately there's no proof yet, but I think that there's a lot of very interesting, very compelling evidence that there is some common thread between all of it.
On that note, John, we're going to wrap it on up. Thank you for another great edition of the Unbiased UFO Report. Big Bad John can be found on Twitter, and that's his main hobby. Stay in place on social media right there. _Desmodin is his link there. All right.
Yep.
Bye, John. I'll miss you.
All right, man. Yep. Have a good evening, sir.
All right, let's see what Shirky Poo has for us for the night as we get into the news here. Authorities in South Carolina are urging residents to be on the lookout for an unidentified large cat spotted on the loose. The Calhoun County Sheriff's Office said that residents should use extreme caution after the large cat was spotted in the Sandy Run area of Swansea. And Chief Deputy Matt Trenham said multiple officers called the sheriff's office to report a large cat on the loose, but no such animals have been reported. Well, what kind of large cat? How can you use the statement large cat 67 times in a story? What is it? Is it a mountain lion? Because those are pretty prevalent around North America. Is it a Bengal tiger? Is it a lion? Is it a jaguar? A black panther? What is it? What is it? Oh, here it is. They think it's a tiger. But the identity of the feline has not been confirmed. Oh, so they're thinking. Terrible writing there. Terrible. Anyways, they go on to say police have not managed a glimpse of it, but they have located a paw print that authorities believe could belong to a large feline. Really? We're ending with the same thing. This is what happens when you have journalism students doing practicums and being allowed to report stories. That's what happens. A young boy on a zip line at an adventure park in Costa Rica had an unexpected wildlife encounter when he collided with a sloth climbing on the cable. The poor video is shown on Instagram by the Go Adventure Arenal Park in La Fortuna, showing the young boy taking off on the zip line through the rainforest, having a grand old time. The video, filmed by a tour guide, captured the moment when the boy came into an abrupt stop after he collided with a sloth on the line. I just clocked him straight in the face. What do I do about the sloth? The boy asked in the video. The tour guide tells the boy just to wait, and they remain in place, and the sloth won't make its way to lower ground. The owner of the park said the boy and the sloth were both uninjured. That's good. The owner said a group of zipliners had just passed through the area moments earlier, so the sloth would have had only a short period of time to climb on the cable. Got a feel for the sloth. I mean, those zip lines, they're going a few miles an hour there. I mean, that just could not have felt good on the schnoz. Would have broke mine in seconds. A comet, twice the size of the one that killed all the dinosaurs, is expected to come dangerously close to Earth every once in a while. Every year, stargazers get out their telescopes with excitement to watch the Perseids meteor showers in July and August, and Comet Swift-Tuttle is to thank. Yeah, the Perseids, which appear to us as beautiful shooting stars lighting up the night sky, is really an enormous stream of cosmic space debris that our Earth is periodically passing. All right, well, let's get to Swift-Tuttle, by the way. It's a periodic comet that orbits the sun every 133 years. Comets are snowballs, frozen gases, and rocks and dust. You know, they're made of leftovers from the formation of the solar system. When a comet approaches the sun, forms a tail made of gas and dust particles that face away from the large star. All right, cool. Thanks. Let's go to Florida Man here before we end the night. An experienced drug user in Florida was charged after he called 911 to complain that the meth that he recently purchased was inferior and wanted an officer dispatched to test the quality. Thomas Eugene Colucci greeted deputies when they arrived at his door in Spring Hill, Florida, about 140 kilometers west of Orlando. Colucci told the cops he had recently purchased meth from a man he met at a local bar. After having used a bit of it, believed it was actual bath salts. Oh no. He explained that he was an experienced drug user, and because he used meth in the past, he knew what it should feel like. Well, guess what? He lost his fake meth, got charged with possession of meth and drug paraphernalia, is now set out on bond at $7,000. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. Welcome to another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper-gig speeds. Say hello to the Walkers, a family of not one but 4 Gagillionaires, each living up their Gagillionaire life at ludicrous internet speed. First up, Anna Walker. She dominates streaming like the matriarch she is. No show ever goes unwatched under her watch.
Next episode.
Next up, Peter Walker. There's no stopping this dad bod from showing up to his virtual workout sessions.
Let's go leg day.
And finally, the Walker twins. They may look alike but couldn't internet more differently. Harry dominates his fellow online gamers while Heather group video chats with friends.
Ooh, nice background filter, Jess.
Live like a Gagillionaire. Get internet that upgrades everything. AT&T Fiber, now with speeds up to 5 gigs.
Limited availability in select areas. Speeds not guaranteed. Single device wired speed. Max 4.7 gig per second. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
What's the big deal?
Where can you get pizza, bread twists, specialty chicken, and more for just $5.99 each?
Is it at Domino's?
He hands off hand tossed pizza and a marble cookie brownie. He's going!
There's a lot of variety on the radio and at Domino's too, where you can
Mix and match 2 or more. $5.99 each at Domino's.
2-item minimum. Pan pizza, bone-in wings, and bread bowls will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary.